Tonight's game will take place on the original territories of the peoples of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes the Blackfoot First Nation tribes of Siksika, the Piikani, the Gila, the Stoney.
What's going on, everybody? John here with you. It's a Saturday night, March 4th, 2023. Yet another big contest for us as Cooper Hopkins and I have done our very best to try to give you all the best Calgary Flames coverage that we can during this critical 6-game stretch. And now we're on the eve of it with Minnesota, Dallas, and Minnesota up next. So the first game against the Minnesota Wild, that's going to be tonight now. We have Indigenous Celebration Night right now at Scotiabank Saddledome. And then we will have the anthems and everything else going along. So let me give you the starting lineups for the Minnesota Wild. Head coach Dean Evason, 35, 21, and 6 on the season. It's Ryan Hartman, Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Zuccarello, Jacob Middleton, and Jared Spurgeon. Joel Eriksson Ek, Marcus Johansson, Matt Boldy with Alex Goligoski and Matt Dumba. Sam Steele, Marcus Foligno, Frederick Gaudreau with Connor Dewar, Mason Shaw, and Ryan Reeves. It's John Merrill and John Klingberg with the back-end defense with Philip Gustafson in net. So the Minnesota Wild, they made some trade additions at the deadline. They acquired John Klingberg from the Anaheim Ducks just under the buzzer. He's going to start tonight. I'm not sure if he's going to be on the back-end third line, but that's where they have him listed right now on the CBS Sports depth chart. As far as the other acquisition of Gustav Nyquist, he's not going to be ready until the playoffs. And so for the Minnesota Wild, I want to give you this interesting stat. And again, I will repeat this for Cooper Hopkins when he comes in here. But in the sense of Minnesota, they're 7-1-2 in their last 10. So Joe Rogan unofficially says, I bet on the Wild in regulation. And we're going to have to see how this one goes. 7-1-2 in the last 10 for the Minnesota Wild. And let me give you this. That's 7 wins, 1 regulation loss, and 2 ties. But let me turn it around. Of the most recent 7 losses, the Minnesota Wild have only scored 1 or 2 goals. And why is that interesting? Because in their wins, they've only scored about 1 or 2 goals. So they specialize in 1-goal games. As to where the Calgary Flames, like Cooper Hopkins likes to say, they have it on the menu, but they don't end up pulling the win out there. So this could be a very tight contest in between these two teams, and that's what you would expect. With Kirill Kaprizov with 73 points on the season, you know what you have with him. And Matt Zuccarello not far behind with 58. But when you look at the rest of the story for the Minnesota Wild, points are very hard to come by. So if it's not from Zuccarello and it's not from Kirill Kaprizov, you're going to find yourself another low-scoring game. And with Philip Gustafson at a 216 goals against, he's been battling around a sub-2 over the last stretch of all of these games. He's been about as good as anybody in net. So this should be a stiff test. For the Calgary Flames, they're 27, 22, and 13 on the season. Let me give you their starting lineup, head coached by Darryl Sutter. Elias Lindholm, Dillon Dube, Tyler Toffoli, with Rasmus Andersson, Mackenzie Weegar. It's Nazem Kadri, Jacob Pelchier, Jonathan Huberdeau, with Christopher Tanev and Noah Hanifin, Mikael Backlund, Andrew Mangiapane, and Blake Coleman, with Trevor Lewis, Milan Lucic, and Walker Dewar. Nikita Zadorov and Troy Stecher will be the back end of third line side with Jacob Markstrom in net. The Calgary Flames, they went ahead and swept Ritchie's. So instead of Nick Ritchie, you got Brett Ritchie, and you also have Troy Stecher on that side of it. Radim Zohorna for Dryden Hunt. I'm sure Cooper will talk about those a little bit. As Troy Stecher comes into the lineup, will be on the back end because Michael Stone is still injured. That's pretty much the only other part of it, with Oliver Shillingston still yet to make his debut due to personal reasons. So for the Calgary Flames, as the Winnipeg Jets won tonight, they are now 6 points out of the wildcard spot. What's particularly difficult when we talked about in this stretch, now Calgary is facing a spot where they need to get in a 3-game winning streak. It's been hard to do so all year. With Calgary, Dallas, with Minnesota, Dallas, and Minnesota here for Calgary over the next 3 games, they get a chance to play Minnesota, who that's also in the second in the Central, but could be moving down depending on where these teams end up. They have a chance to climb some rungs in that ladder. They need to continue to do so. The Monday and Tuesday part of it's going to be extraordinarily difficult because it's a back-to-back between Dallas and Minnesota. It's got to start right now. We've talked about the runway running out for the Flames. Well, this is truly time now. The deadline's over, and if they don't make this run, this season could be over for the Flames. And for Jacob Markstrom, as talked about between Rick Ball and Kelly Hurdy on that side, this is his time where he struggled in the net. Dan Vladar hasn't done much to make that change. Darryl Sutter has been frank. Jacob Markstrom's getting the starts in net tonight because they have to go for it. So Jacob Markstrom needs to find his form, get it done tonight, and just start this literally one game at a time. The old moniker, that's the only way to go about it right now. With Jacob Markstrom, 15, 16, and 8 on the season with a 2.96 goals against and an 8.87 save percentage. It's a far cry from Philip Gustafson on the other end, where the save percentage is 30 points higher. So in a game tonight where both teams specialize in one-goal contests, who's going to get it done? That's what we'll find out tonight. I'll be back just before the puck drop as the national anthems are going on. So, Joe, I think on your side that's what's going to be the case. But Cooper's going to join me here, if not soon, a little bit later on that side of it, that we're going to look into it. It's been rough over the last few games for us trying to cover this team, but we're just trying to give you the best that we can as far as what's there. These are the games that are right in front of it that they have to have, and it's going to be big. So the Indigenous celebration night that's going on in Calgary right now, the Scotiabank Saddle Dome, is actually pretty cool because that's how they're doing the national anthem there for O Canada right on the land. So that's pretty neat, having Indigenous people actually doing the anthem on that side. Canada gets all these things right, but when you get the U.S. coverage, you get some of the things on ESPN, it's a far cry, right? We're going to get into some of those comments as well during the intermission because I got to talk with Cooper once he comes in here as far as some of the things that were said on ESPN, especially First Take. I know nobody really watches that stuff. I don't either, but I happened to catch it on the Twitter side, and it wasn't on a context, and we'll discuss that as well, as long as some of the other trades too.
Welcome to our first Indigenous celebration on Hockey Night in Canada in the Scotiabank Saddledome Sea of Red. And it is our pleasure to be inside the Scotiabank Saddledome on this special night. Rick Ball and Greg Miller in the broadcast booth as we get set for a big matchup between.
Well, guys, the puck drop is probably about a minute in front of us here, and I am not quite sure what's going to happen tonight. I think it's going to be a close game, as I've said, but we'll have to figure this out as we get to it. I'm going to get Cooper Hopkins in here right now as we'll get set to take this in. So we're officially going to be getting underway here. Philip Gustafson and Jacob Markstrom as they had the Indigenous Peoples Night at Scotiabank Saddledome. That was a really great performance, the national anthem on that side. Everybody should be pumped up for Hockey Night in Canada. Cooper, this is a humongous contest once again.
Yes, it is, my friend. As always, I say this every time. Great to hear your voice. Great to be back on Twitter Spaces with you. And yeah, we're here at the Scotiabank Saddledome, and it is Indigenous Peoples Night in Calgary this evening. Really special presentation. But as we get set to drop the puck here, and if anybody saw those warm-up jerseys, really cool alternate logo of the Blasty horse face with those flames. And I just thought really cool job on that. But we're going to get to the game right now. John, you jump right in as the opening faceoff is won by Minnesota. The Flames need to get to business early and often here. They've got to get back in the win column and keep their playoff hopes alive.
So Blake Coleman tried to shoot one off the steal that went the left side of the red line. And again, as we said, and I try to get in all this in the pregame, this could probably be another one-goal game here. As Minnesota loves to play these, Calgary always seems to be in these. It's Jared Spurgeon with his long shot. This is held by Markstrom. Man, oh man, this is going to be something here, Cooper. We got to get 6 points. You said it just in our broadcast before, and I'm right there with you. It's a back-to-back Monday and Tuesday between Dallas and Minnesota. So this is now or never.
Yeah, the Flames have had some opportunities. Teams that have been on back-to-backs themselves. I think about the Boston Bruins, and of course the other night against the Maple Leafs, couldn't get the job done. And pretty soon the Flames' schedule is going to get tougher and tougher. It's already been a bit of an uphill fight, and they have not had much fight when it comes down to it, at least in terms of getting W's. But we're back underneath the action, and keep it going on that play-by-play, John. I'm excited to see how this game shakes out tonight.
So Rasmus Andersson now on his forehand. He's trying to get away from the defense of Joel Eriksson Ek as this goes across the flaming sea. And Minnesota will slap this around the end boards as this gets picked back up. As there's some players that are just contested near the blue line side, but here come the Flames on a 2-on-2. Jonathan Huberdeau trying to get that around Matt Dumba. He centered it out in front, but nobody was there. But it goes in behind the net of the opposite of Philip Gustafsson, and Boldy gets the steal as he signed a 7x7 for $49 million. As Hartman will pick this up, we'll wrap this around the inboards now. Bill Guerin made some moves at the deadline as well that we will talk about alongside with the Flames as Markstrom holds on.
Yep, so I think these teams, John, as we see so frequently, just kind of feeling each other out at the moment. There have been a couple of, like you said, 2-on-2 rushes. Nothing odd man yet, no breakaways necessarily. But Minnesota Wild, definitely, you can see it in their skating and with the way they're moving the puck early here. They've come to play. They want to solidify their position right now in the standings.
So Mikael Backlund is set to take the draw now on the defensive end. The shots are one apiece, 18:33 left to go in the first, and they'll do it again on the Minnesota side. John, I'm here with you on the play-by-play, drawn by Cooper Hopkins, but I know we're going to be switching off in this critical game as this is wrapped around the inboards now. And Nikita Zadorov, he's up on the rush, trying to get into the neutral zone now as Andrew Mangiapane, but a good back check there by Marcus Foligno to get a piece of it. Off the backhand, it's Mangiapane now around the net as this gets capitalized on and sent down the net by the Minnesota Wild, and we'll see if Freddie Gaudreau actually gets to it. As Troy Stetcher, he got rocked in behind the net and picked up now by Zadorov as he tries to go ahead and throw a body out there. This is Backlund with Coleman. Backlund with the wrist shot, and it goes off of the blocker of Gustafsson near the left side of the red line. And Foligno can play this off the forehand, places it back to the defensive partner and newcomer in John Klingberg from the Anaheim Ducks. And also we saw him last year on the Dallas Stars, as this is Klingberg. Trying to go left to right here are the Minnesota Wild, and this goes off the stick shaft of one of the Flames. This is picked up by Christopher Tanev. He tries to get this out of the zone, and now this will go to Hanifin as he pokes checks it to try to get Tanev out of there. And now this is near the left side of the face-off dot. As Calgary in their blasty jerseys trying to get into the neutral zone right now. It's a race for the puck as this is picked up by Dewar off the stick lift. It was Jacob Middleton that knocked it out of the way, but you saw that speed from Walker Dewar. It's certainly evident as he goes in and gets the steal right now. He tries to throw it across the blue paint. And Rasmus Andersson will pinch up a little bit, stick it forward to the right side red line, but here come the Wild. We'll drop this back in their own end right now. Still one shot piece as a backhand off the red line gets intercepted by Mackenzie Weegar. And they'll play this across and Rasmus Andersson. Calgary 1-3-2 in their last 6 games, and that's why I said they got to get this going right now, especially with the Jets getting the win tonight. Mackenzie Weegar, that's off of the pad of Gustafsson. Now this is picked up near the right side dot. Lindholm waits for the back pass, and they'll pick it up now. Lindholm's still patient as Dube. He's going to work his way into the corner, put it across the blue paint, and Tyler Toffoli, it just wasn't there for him, as it's picked up now by Matt Zuccarello in his own end. The Wild will get this back here with Zuccarello with a long outstretched pass as they cut back on him, but they couldn't find Hartman. And another pass the other way coming here for Jonathan Huberdeau. Huberdeau tries to throw the body off the pin to the left side boards, and Nazem Kadri is waiting to see if he can get a stick lift on that side of it as Matt Dumba will play this here. Spurgeon flip it all the way down. Nikita Zadorov. We'll get to it as it's iced.
Yeah, John, it's interesting to see the results of some of these trades that came in before the deadline, which was just yesterday. And as you mentioned, John Klingberg now on the Minnesota Wild, and he certainly made a name for himself with his performance with the Dallas Stars in the last playoff series that Dallas Stars had, multiple series. And, now I think Minnesota's brought him on board to do exactly what he did with Dallas. He was a really staunch defender. He looked good against these Flames about a year ago. So I'm sure he's going to make an impact tonight.
Yeah, especially on the offensive end as well. That's what they're trying to get. So Nazem Kadri, go ahead and try to get this on the offensive zone drop. The referee decides to drop this puck, and this is picked up by the Wild. This will flip this across. And now Zadorov gets the interception, but Peltier can't get this off the stick lift as this goes back to Matt Zuccarello. And now Dumba stumbles a bit, but he's going to have time as Calgary goes ahead and takes some changes. And we'll pass this right back as Dumba will still hold off the forehand, get this across the sea, and then dump it in. This will go right to Markstrom. We'll take no chances at 15:39.
Yeah, an excellent point too about Klingberg. Yeah, the offensive ability that he brings to the table is I think number one on the list, which you just said. The Wild are going to be a tough out if they're able to. I mean, they're second in the Central right now, so it looks, for all intents and purposes, like they're going to be able to create some opportunities when it comes to the playoffs. And these Flames now have Troy Stetcher. I actually like that pickup for them, and he had a bit of a welcome to Calgary moment. I think the first time he touched the puck officially as a Flame, he got his dome smashed into the end board. So hopefully he's okay. But yeah, he popped right up, and now we're back in the action.
So I'm going to go ahead and get to a stat when we get to the commercial break as far as the Wild, but it flashed across in the Sportsnet 7-0-1 in the last 8 as it's iced on the Calgary side.
Yeah, and John, as we're getting now about 5 minutes into this first period, there haven't really been all that. I mean, obviously we're 2-2 on the shot board, so not a lot in terms of volume, but there also haven't been really any extremely dangerous opportunities yet. And I'm seeing here on the Sportsnet feed as well, back on December 7th, the Flames got a victory, which they need tonight. They beat these Minnesota Wild 5-3. So a scoreline like that might not be too bad if you're a Calgary Flames fan.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's exactly what we're going to see, depending on the way that these teams have been playing. But so that might certainly be the outlier, as this is picked up now by the Flames. Mangiapane will try to stick lift this thing, but this will go back to Minnesota in their own end. A very patient pace between these two right now at the Scotiabank Saddledome. Just 2 shots apiece, no score just yet. Boldy will drop this one for Johansson, and a good save by Markstrom there.
Well, really nice stop right there by Markstrom. And you know what? We talked about this during our last broadcast, John. There's just a bit of extracurricular there to Markstrom's left. But, Jacob Markstrom, he had one of his better performances of the year against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Just gave up the 2. One of those he probably wanted back. It was a 5-hole goal by Marner, but Marner just made such a beautiful move. I think everyone was mesmerized before he fired it home. But Markstrom looking solid tonight here as well, so hopefully that will continue.
Yeah, that will need to, because Philip Gustafsson on the other side is a sub-2 over this recent stretch. He's only about 210 on the season as well, as this goes up and on a play.
Yeah, so John, tonight I'm looking for something more from. We talked about this when we covered the Flames and the Maple Leafs the other night. I'm looking for a little more from the young guys wearing those blasty jerseys tonight. So I'm talking about Walker Duehr, and I'm talking about Peltier. I know Duehr's on the 4th line, so mainly thinking about Peltier, hoping he can actually contribute tonight and get on the board with at least 1 point.
Absolutely. This puck gets moved around the horn right now here for the Minnesota Wild as Eriksson Ek will watch this go across the end boards. And now this will be picked up. Center dangerously across the blue paint as now this goes for Foligno. That was a good drill. They try to get a piece of it now. Backhand opportunity. Markstrom down, but he makes the save.
Wow, John, that is just an incredible moment right there. I thought that puck was going to be in the net for sure. You were ramping up, and I thought you were going to make the goal call, but Markstrom dives across. He goes post to post, right to left. Boy, just left all alone there on the doorstep is Steele. I believe that's number 13, for the Wild. And he has a backhand opportunity from a tight angle. Markstrom gets the left arm down, traps it underneath the body. Wow.
Yeah, even when you're falling down against that glove hand, trapping against the body, as Cooper said, Markstrom stayed cool under pressure. He's going to have to keep doing so, as this is Backlund once again in the defensive zone draw. And this will go for the Minnesota Wild one more time as they'll gain puck possession. Matt Dumba stays patient. It's for Hartman to get up as this goes back now here for Spurgeon. Hartman trying to find Kirill Kaprizov as he was sitting in front of the net. And now this goes behind the end boards right now as this is nicely active stick check. Matt Dumba with a hesitation move as this goes back off the back skate of Rasmus Andersson And it seems like Calgary's hemmed in their own end, but now let's see what Backlund can do with it. He'll just fire to open right side dot here for Coleman. Coleman gets the steal and is able to hold this back in. Skating was Noah Hanifin, and he fired it just wide of the right post. He was able to keep that in on a full skate off a change. And now this will go back off the backhand now, set up by Mangiapane now Tanev as he fires it wide. Calgary starting to get some puck possession now, as this is kept off the backhand, and Backlund still working his way, keeping this alive now, trying to get to the bowling pins, a turnaround shot, and this one will bounce all the way back, and this will be a chance for Calgary to regroup in their own end. With about 13:05 left to go in the first. John, I'm here with you on the play-by-play, joined by Cooper Hopkins. We are at the Saddle Dome right now in the middle of the hellacious stretch that we've been talking about. If you've been following our coverage between the Calgary Flames, it's now or never right now. As this is picked up across the red line, you got Minnesota, Dallas, Minnesota the next 3 games. Slap shot goes all the way back as Hanifin turns it over, but an offside entry for Minnesota.
Yeah, and John, that was actually Troy Stetcher right there, who almost got himself into hot water early. He tried to drop that one off for one of his teammates in the neutral zone, and no one in the vicinity. That was easily picked up by Minnesota. Fortunately, they go offside. But one thing to make note of is that we have back-to-back shifts here as we hit the commercial break that were particularly strong for both teams. So the Minnesota Wild, they take charge. It looked like they were going to hold the O-zone for an extended period of time. Luckily, Rasmus Andersson was able to intercept and get things out to Mikael Backlund. And Backlund ended up on about a 2-minute-long shift there. And you made a great call of Noah Hanifin, who jumps off the bench on a partial change, comes streaking up the center of the ice, and he had a nice shot along the ice surface that just went about 6 inches wide of the post. So the Flames did a nice job to bounce back after Minnesota showed a little dominance in the O-zone.
Yes, they did. Both of them got as good as they got as far as their puck possession. So I wanted to throw this out there during the commercial breaks. We know Minnesota in their recent stretch is 7-1-2 in their last 10, and that's good. But I'm going to word this in a way where it's not confusing. If you look up throughout the schedule and you say their most recent losses out of the last 7 as well, they've averaged about the same goals for and the same goals against, just over 2 and just under 2 in wins and losses. So Minnesota Wild is no stranger to playing 1-goal games. Sportsnet said they had about 17 wins this season on that side, and the Calgary Flames have played in the most 1-goal games this season, period, bar none. So this could be another game where Calgary needs to get critical points, and by design, we could be looking at a 1-0, 2-1 type of contest.
Yeah, John, I think you were right on the nose with that one, and obviously we will be expecting something similar to what we got when the Flames played the Maple Leafs 2 nights ago, and that was, of course, a 2-1 outcome, and the Flames looked good throughout that contest. You know, this has already been a bit of a different game than we've seen from the Flames throughout the year. A lot of times we get what we got against the Leafs, which is a solid first period for Calgary, a second period that's a little bit of a mixed bag, especially with some difficulty as we get towards the second intermission, and then a third period that leaves a lot to be desired. This is a little more even right now, so let's see what we get as we move forward.
Yeah, we see that styles make fights. When they showed that on Sportsnet as well, in the last 11 games Minnesota has played, it's 1-5-5 goals for in 6 overtime games. So nail-biting time indeed as Dube tries to deliver a check. Lindholm can't get there, and now Minnesota will attempt to go left to right. Again, they have the green pants and the white jerseys, and Calgary wearing the blasties as they're going to get an offensive zone off the ice.
Yeah, an O-zone face-off coming up for the Flames here. And wow, Dillon Dube, he's getting a close-up shot of the Sportsnet feed right now with good reason. He tried to throw a pretty big check against number 3, John Klingberg, and he got him pretty good. Now, Dube goes down on that as well because I think Klingberg's got about 30 pounds on him. But credit to Dube for trying to throw the body early.
Yeah, you got to make sure for Klingberg, like you said, you can't let him wheel and deal that puck. But as I've said before, especially when they covered Dallas in the postseason, he can certainly be burned on defense. You don't even have to have attention to detail. You can just beat him down the ice. So we'll see what happens. 12 minutes left to go in this first, as this is held off the red line now in the clear. And this will touch the stick of Jacob Markstrom. 4 shots to 3 in this scoreless game right now. About 11:50 left to go in this first. It's Huberdeau in the middle of the slot with an extra pass. I can't believe he didn't shoot that one, and I'm getting tired of saying that. As this goes in between the slot and now back to the Wild. The Wild.
Every time, John. Every time.
Jacob Middleton off the drop pass. It was dangerous for Markstrom, and this goes off the left pad and then off the stick. And yes, I mean, we have to. He's open in the middle of the slot off the rush. You have to test Gustafsson there. As Spurgeon with the outstretched pass, and that was beautifully played by Matt Boldy. Then a gorgeous skate by Eriksson Ek, as this was just a little too far for Marcus Johansson. And now Calgary will try to settle it down as Mangiapane. Hanifin lost it in between his skates. This is going to allow Matt Boldy to be able to buy some time. He's just going to make the right play and clear it around the net right now in this scoreless game as we're getting close to the eve of the first half, as this is offsides.
Yeah, John, you and I are pretty disciplined. We usually don't interrupt one another when the play-by-play is in full swing. But right there, Jonathan Huberdeau, I don't know what needs to happen. I don't know if we need to get him a pair of lucky socks. I don't know if he needs to talk to a tarot card reader, John. We can go down the list. He's right in the slot. He has one. Jake Middleton, a bit of a partial screen there. Maybe a blocking attempt. But Huberdeau's got to fire the puck. He's right there in the middle of the slot.
And please, anytime you see something, say something. I don't mind it because I was in lockstep with you there. That'd be another one of our Calgary Flames bingo cards that we said we weren't going to pull out. 10:35 left to go in the first. It's 5-4 shots. And this is picked up now by Minnesota one more time in their own end. They get across the Flame NC with easy puck possession. Series of stick handles for Kaprizov. And that was dangerous, but poke checked away at the last moment. And now here come the Flames, although it's 1-on-3, trying to buy some time near the right side dot. Walker Duer gets upended and loses a glove as well, as this is a long outstretched pass the other way. A chance for Kaprizov trying to get this off the stick lift, but here's big number 17, Milan Lucic. Off the forehand. Good drop pass for Duer. Good to see him pop right back up and get a piece of that glove. He's working his way right toward the net as Trevor Lewis couldn't get there in time. And another good outstretched pass across the Flame NC now for the Wild as they try to bother the pass from Hartman to Zuccarello. Now a big time hit against Klingberg. That's the second time he's had his clock cleaned. And this falls back now to Noah Hanifin. Hanifin's pass here for Huberdeau. He can't skate around for Minnesota Wild. And now Minnesota will try to hit this off the embankment. It bounces back in their own end. They get this on an open left wing. It stays on the onside as Foligno tries to make the drop pass for Freddie Gaudreau. Freddie Gaudreau now trying to get around Nazem Kadri, as this will stay with the Wild, but good work by Calgary to try to buy some space to the left side wall and get it out. They might have to wrap this around the inboards now, and they do so with Nikita Zadorov. And Zadorov will make a great bank pass, but Jacob Pelchier just had to turn around at the last second. This is with John Merrill, but Kadri trying to buy some pressure. And now Merrill will get this across the defensive partner in Spurgeon as they mix the lines for Dean Evason's squad. This is now across the left side red line, back to the Wild one more time. Just 5 shots to 4. It's been a lot of neutral zone battle right now as the puck goes across the inboards, picked up by the Flames, and this is a chance for Backlund. Backlund gains the entry. Backlund's shot will be fired near the right side glass, somehow stays in play. Mangiapane trying to battle against a couple of Wild. Coleman will dive to get a stick on it, and this will go back into the neutral zone here for Kenzie Weegar as he makes a silky little drop pass here for Chris Tanev. Tanev's going to be able to get the entry, but the pass was a little bit too far. And Mangiapane, his shot gets held by Gustafsson.
You know, John, I think it's safe to say at this point that both of these teams have settled into this hockey game. Man, oh man, we've seen some hits. We've seen some really nice rushes through the neutral zone, fast-moving skates, and some real scoring opportunities. I think we are officially underway here.
Yes, we are. I think we are going to get exactly what I thought we would see in this type of game. Bizarre on that side said, I bet plus 1.5 for the Wild. I want to see them hang in there and try to get the bet. And so thank you for the guys' commentary. Keep up the good work. As we got a few people on our YouTube side there checking it out tonight. Again, Cooper, this is critical because it's a back-to-back Monday and Tuesday between Dallas and Minnesota, as we said. And then Minnesota, after this game, they get a few days off and they'll get to go back to XL and play Calgary.
Yeah, and I think that rest is going to be key for them. And, I mean, they look rested right now. They look really sharp. There have been a couple of relatively clean looks at Markstrom. Markstrom, as we said, has been solid so far. And, also want to glance over at the Calgary side and say, okay, yeah, they look like they're in this game as well and aren't afraid to push the offensive pace with one pretty large exception, John. And since we have a commercial here, I think we just have to recount the times that we have mentioned Jonathan Huberdeau just not firing the puck when almost anyone else would. It's a very strange fact that has remained true throughout this season, and we see another example just a minute ago.
It's got to be a situation, Cooper. Well, whatever happens this year, we know that the Stanley Cup playoffs are going to happen regardless whether or not our teams are in there. But I think you have to go into it next season now, and there has to be a mentality change. There's got to be something said. I know that there's a lot of time left in this season to do so, and that'd be a better time to do it is fix it right now. But there's got to be something in the offseason when you got 8 more years of Jonathan Huberdeau. You can't continue to have this.
Yeah, no question about it. And as we come back to the broadcast here on the Sportsnet side, we see the really nice stick handling from Kirill Kaprizov. I mean, gosh, how many times have we seen that from him? It's frequent. He is so talented, and the Flames are going to have to keep an eye on him, no question.
And how did 134 players go before him in that draft a few years ago? My goodness, as this is wrapped up by Mackenzie Weegar near the right side boards, but he's just trying to get around Boldy. Good work there by Weegar, able to get around a couple of Minnesota Wild, and now Eriksson Ek will get a piece of it as he gets this pass across. This Matthew Boldy, he's a good-looking young player for Bill Guerin's GM squad with Dean Evason. That's why they locked him up for 7 years. This picked up now for Eriksson Ek. He's trying to jam toward the right side red line, and Markstrom holding on to that post. And now there's going to be some pushing and shoving. It's Weegar again with Eriksson Ek. He said, "Get away from my goaltender," but the Zebra is pushing him back.
Well, a couple things right there, John. Eriksson Ek was very close to jamming that puck in at the near post, and Mackenzie Weegar took some exception to that as Eriksson Ek was jamming away. And you know what? This just continues to stretch for me. I've loved what I've seen from number 52 for the Calgary Flames, Mackenzie Weegar. He has been doing it all, and you know what we saw a few minutes ago? Just that, I think you called it silky, and it was just a cheeky little back pass to Chris Tanev. He's had skill tonight. He's had physicality, and we still have 7:47 to go in the first. Mackenzie Weegar looking strong.
6-5 are the shots. Mikael Backlund with another defensive zone draw. See if he can get one of these now. See if it's brushed out, or we'll just do it again. Minnesota Wild get brushed out of this draw again, so Backlund's going to have to wait another 5 seconds as we will get this puck drop. Backlund, he will get this one clean, and now it's Noah Hanifin as this goes back here for Tanev. And now this is a crazy bounce. It almost fell right to Matt Zuccarello in the middle of the circles. But this will be a chance now for John Klingberg. Keep this off the forehand, off his drop pass. And he gets hit again by Coleman. Klingberg is an absolute target right now. But here comes the puck the other way as Zuccarello trying to keep this off the drop pass. It was a chance for Hartman, and Markstrom will hold on. Klingberg is a pinata.
Yeah, there's a reason why he's got number 3 on his back. That's how many times he's been blasted by Calgary Flames tonight. The last one, I think, was frankly the most surprising to me. Coleman, he was tiptoeing on a cross-check right there, but the refs thought it was clean. Either way, Klingberg was down on the ice. Blake Coleman, these guys that you don't know. Listen, I'm not saying they can't get physical, but with Dube and Coleman throwing the body on Klingberg, that's not who I put at the top of the list when it comes to checking.
Well, certainly, as Cooper said, we might already have the tone already set in this game of what we will see. Maybe a 1-0, a 2-1, a very physical game. Probably going to be some fights, especially if Ryan Reeves is on the ice. 58 points this season for Zuccarello. He's had 3 career 60-plus point seasons, and that, no doubt, because you play with Kirill Kaprizov, as he's enjoyed a career resurgence. On the rush here are the Wild off the back pass, so there'll be a chance off of the blue line side, and that goes off of the right side red line, back off the wall. Lucic with an outstretched pass, trying to keep this off the backhand, and instead go ahead and take some changes here for Darryl Sutter's squad, as this is picked up by Sam Steele. Steele, patient, as they'll flip it to an open right side faceoff dot, and this will be an opportunity. Pelchier pick this back up now as he's enjoying his time on the second line. Here's a chance for Kadri. That was a seam pass, but then it was trying to give right to Jonathan Huberdeau. I thought Kadri probably could have shot that one, as this goes down near the left side of the glass, and this will fall back to the Wild with 6:15 left to go in this scoreless first. They lost in the first round of the playoffs of the Wild 6 of the last 7 seasons. See if Gustav Nyquist is ready by playoff time, and if John Klingberg can help them get some more goals. Because even though you're winning, all the games only get about 1.5 goals per. I don't think that's sustainable, although it's like Stanley Cup playoff hockey all the way through. They're going to need more. as this is picked up now near the right side wall, but the Flames have 3 players to 2 as this still stays with the Wild. Now in behind the net, here's a chance. Boldy try to get a piece of it, and now the Flames will get this back in their own end off the touch pass as this is gained across the red line, and this will fall back to John Klingberg. He's going to have to keep his head up, and now Merrill will get this cleared, but it's not out. This is picked up by the Flames and Tyler Toffoli as they'll fire it just away from the left faceoff dot. And the Wild will get this down. It's going to be a race for the puck right now. It's picked up by Marcus Johansson. Gorgeous outstretched pass, but a good block on the other end. I think that was Pelche that also got a piece of it. Now Johansson toward the right side boards. He makes Noah Hanifin take a seat, but he pops back up. And now is Klingberg. Klingberg now for Boldy into the traffic and scores! Minnesota takes the lead. Marcus Johansson with a tip.
Oh, John, that is a tough break right there. The Flames doing some really solid defending. I was waiting for my next opportunity to chime in. I was going to give Chris Tanev a big tip of the cap. He had a really good shift there, but a really long shift as well. And I think the Minnesota Wild just took advantage of a situation where both Tanev, especially Tanev, but also Hanifin, were a little bit tired. Tanev was right at the top of the blue paint. He was looking to check, that was Eriksson Ek, and Eriksson Ek able to stretch his stick blade across, and it was tipped twice, in fact. Actually, that shot came in from near the blue line. It was tipped by Johansson, and then Eriksson Ek. Both Tanev and Markstrom looked to the sky. They can't believe that one was in, but it is, and it's 1-0 to the visitors.
Yeah, there really is nothing you can do on a double deflection, so we'll go ahead and get my corrections when that gets across. Right now they have Johansson as the one that was listed, but he could have really given it either way. Eriksson Ek was right there. Boldy and Klingberg get the primary and secondary assists. Here's Backlund off the wrist shot, and that goes off the outside of the wall as Coleman tries to pin in there. Now it's 4:40 left to go in the first. John here within the call drawn by Cooper Hopkins. Calgary's just conceded one, and the way Minnesota's playing, this might be as much as they can get, as this is picked up now by Rasmus Andersson, and that's a pass that Weegar has to go collect, and this is played in between the legs of one of the Wild players. This goes across the neutral zone now. It's Lucic in on the rush, and this one is saved by Gustafsson. The rebound is loose. This will go back to the D now, but it might give an opportunity for Gustafsson to get set as it's Zadorov now near the left side of the wall. He's still with this thing off the backhand now. He has to go all the way back because he can't hold the blue line. It's offsides.
Oh, so close right there, John. Blake Coleman, who was a goal scorer 2 nights ago when he had a shorty, he had a rebound attempt right there. I think it was coming in from Lucic. Or no, excuse me, not a rebound. It was just a backhand pass that actually made it through the slot. And Coleman wasn't able to really get much mustard on it. So a fairly easy save as Gustafsson was in the right position. But that was one of the better opportunities for the Flames right there.
Yes, it was. Again, we don't have a lot to speak of as far as the shots and everything else. We did get our first goal from Marcus Johansson. It's 7 shots to 6, 9 hits to 8 already. 4:09 left to go in the first. We go to commercial break. Faceoffs are 11-5 in favor of the Wild. No power play opportunities just yet. This just seems, Cooper, like a typical playoff game. I mentioned Minnesota being like the Dallas Stars in the postseason last year. I know the goal differential is way on the other end of the good for Minnesota, but this is going to be one of those tight checking games right now. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, and there is plenty of checking. What I'm expecting here is that to ramp up, and we saw somebody that you mentioned several minutes ago, Ryan Reeves, absorb a big hit from Nikita Zadorov. So let's keep an eye on that. Is there going to be any particular matchup against Reeves tonight? Because if they want to pick on somebody, it better be Zadorov or Lucic if they're going against 75 and White. And beyond that, John, you know what? I actually have sort of an interesting take on where we stand right now. Of course, it's 1-0 Minnesota thanks to that double deflection goal. We'll see if that stays with Johansson or if it's credited to Eriksson Ek, as you mentioned. But either way, I actually think that it's a good thing that the Flames are down right now. This has been a very even first period. It has not been a typical Calgary Flames contest. I think both of these teams are moving really, really well, and I've liked the defending that Calgary has done so far. And like you said, on a double deflection, what can you really expect? That's a tough one to stop. Lindholm was in on Johansson, and Tanev was checking Eriksson Ek very closely, but it's still 1-0. I think the Flames are going to be motivated to tie this thing up. Let's see if they they can do it before the end of the first.
So from what you're saying, it's always been that push in the first period, and now it's going to force them maybe to push in the second or third when they were going for the outstretched shots. I can see where you're going with that. As this is picked up now for Zadorov, but he can't get the clear. Now Foligno going to try to center this back into the blue paint, but it gets blocked. Freddie Gaudreau also try to get in there as well with Trevor Lewis. As this is now near the left side red line. It's a battle for the puck right now, but this is stuck in between skate blades. It's with the blasty jerseys right now. And if it was on the other side, if we were at XL Energy Center, there'd probably be some booing. As we're getting an extreme close-up with the ice chippage. This is just sticks and madness now. This is just a hive of bees. That's all I can really tell you. It's stuck here now for the last 40 seconds, and now we finally blow the whistle.
I haven't seen one of those this year, John. That was one of the most extended puck traps that I've seen in a long time. But thankfully, the Zebras come in and relieve us all. We're going to get a face-off to Markstrom's right.
That'll be another one of these things that we can talk about in our broadcast, because I could tell you I haven't seen one of those this season, and we watch a lot of hockey as this goes back now for Elias Lindholm. So it's Hartman and Lindholm, both line ones out there for both coaches. As this is a stick lift, Hanifin had to get a piece of it. That would have been a chance for Minnesota right and tight. As this is Dillon Dube. He'll try to chip and chase, but Dumba gave him a couple whacks before he could get there. Now back in behind the red line now. This will bounce off of Kirill Kaprizov, but he'll settle it down with the skate blade and throw it back to D. As it's 3 minutes left to go in this first. Get across the Flaming Sea right now, but this will be back here with the Minnesota Wild. Again, they're in the white shirts and the forest green on the hockey pants, as this is picked up now by Rasmus Andersson. He'll try to hold off of that body up the forehand now. Kadri will pin one of the Wild to the boards as this is wrapped around. And are we getting a call with 2:40 in the first?
I think we are, John. It looks like from the referee in the near corner, we're going to get a hooking call. And based on his facial expression and potentially some choice words out of his mouth, I think it's going to be Kaprizov, who may be going to the box for could be our first penalty of the game here. Let's take another look at this. Kaprizov, does he get his stick up? No, that was another play. But either way, yes, at 17:20, it's going to be hooking to Kaprizov. So the Flames will be on the power play, and it's our first man advantage of tonight's contest.
Yeah, that was unfair for you, because the one when you had to do the highlight there, you couldn't get the replay. I just saw the hook now in the hand of Rasmus Andersson. So it's going to be an opportunity for the Flames power plays. It's down to 19.7%, 23rd. That has got to get going, and what's the best thing you can do right now? Score before you go into the dressing room. We'll see what Rasmus Andersson can do. He'll throw this back as it's Pelchier. Kadri. Huberdeau now near the left circle. He'll send this back to Rasmus Andersson. Tyler Toffoli, he's the extra forward on the defensive side right now. It's 4 forwards and 1 defense like it usually is. Rasmus Andersson now for Huberdeau. Huberdeau into the traffic, but this bounces off some skate blades and sticks. And this will go back to Rasmus Andersson in his own end. Kadri gained the entry. His pass try to find Toffoli near the right side boards. And his back pass is held in as Huberdeau has to pivot. We'll hold this off the backhand, but this could be a shorthanded opportunity now. Here's a chance for Boldy, but he fires it just wide of the left side red line. Minnesota's penalty kill has been immaculate, 26 out of 27 in the last 13 games. That's greater than 96%. They don't concede anything. As this is picked up now for Backlund. Backlund will fire this right in off the end boards, not the wrist shot dump in. And this is picked up by Hanifin, but this will go now near the left side of the faceoff down back and let the hustle to try to get there as Mangiapane was being held. This will go back to the D now. Hanifin will take his time as this is a chance for Dillon Dube. Fired right on and then fired wide. Pelchier had a chance for an open goal, but this will go back to Dillon Dube off the spin. He keeps possession. He spins back again and throws this to D. And now this is Backlund. Backlund into the traffic. It goes off the stick of Gustafsson and in the high slot now. Backlund will settle it down here for Hanifin into the traffic, as this might have bounced off Mangiapane or some other Minnesota players. And this will go all the way back to Markstrom, and his pass will be recollected by Noah Hanifin. Hanifin will gain the red line entry, as this is a chance for Calgary to go pinch in and chase this puck with 40 seconds left to go in this first. It's just a 1-0 scoreline now. Marcus Johansson has the latest goal from what we see, although it could be Eriksson Ek off a double deflection. As Hartman throws this off the backhand, Kirill Kaprizov, and that was a dangerous pass, but it fell right to Markstrom instead.
Wow, John, lots lots to talk about here with just 27 seconds to go in the first. First of all, the Flames are now up on the shot board 8-7. We're getting a replay right here of that shot that came in, I think, from Mangiapane, or potentially, no, it was Dube from the top of the far circle. That one hits some skates, and it hits the right pad of the Minnesota Wild goaltender, and Pelche is right there. I thought he was going to make me look like a genius, John. I called for at least 1 point from him. I think he might have. I think he should have tied the game right there, but we're still 1-0 Minnesota.
So Kadri will win this face-off back, and we'll see if Calgary can do anything off of the defensive zone win. They got 20 seconds in which to work with here in the first. Kadri going to be able to finish out the rest of the shift, most likely, as he went to go for Klingberg, and he missed the hit. Kirill Kaprizov with a no-look backhand. This is an opportunity here for Klingberg. Minnesota goes offsides.
And a close call right there. Thought Minnesota was onside, but the referees are right there on the blue line to make the correct call. And yeah, boy, John Klingberg, he's got a target on his back, John. He just avoided a check a moment ago. He also avoided a check on the previous shift by Milan Lucic in the trapezoid on the Minnesota end. So I'm not sure if he said something to someone, but they are definitely trying to keep him out of the game flow, and they're doing a decent job so far.
That is definitely what we have to notice, and I imagine when you're going to be taking this call here in the second period or whatever you want to go for, you're going to be saying that a lot more, as this is a face-off win for Minnesota, and that is going to end the first period. They go to the lead in the dressing room. It's just 1-0, but we'll see the way the rest of the next 40 minutes go.
Yeah, we certainly will, and you called it, my friend. This is a very close contest. Even though it's 1-0 Minnesota, it really could be 1-0 Flames as well. If it weren't for a couple of deflections there and a bit of bad luck from Markstrom, I'm not sure that goal goes in for the Wild. And Jacob Pelche just going a little wide on a rebound attempt right there. I mean, he was just a few feet out. I think he'd like to have that one back, and we might be looking at a different scoreline. But either way, definitely a good contest here, and we're going to have a few extra minutes to talk about not only this game, but some games around the league that have implications for the Flames and the rest of the Western Conference squads that are fighting for playoff spots.
Yeah, we do. So I know we have a couple trades. You want to go through those with the Calgary Flames real quick?
Yeah, you want to set it up for us? Because one of them is a first in the history of the NHL, and the other, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about what the Flames did on their blue line. Excuse me.
So I know from what on the other end for Redeem Zahorna, they got Dryden Hunt from the Rangers side of it, so we'll see if he'll end up getting the lineup at some point. But the first in history, who I think you're referring to, is Brett Ritchie for Nick Ritchie and Troy Stetcher. As you trade some brothers.
Brother for brother. Yeah, Brett Ritchie, definitely serviceable in his time with the Flames, but he gets swapped for his own brother. So Nick Ritchie now on the Calgary Flames going to wear number 27. And that's of note just because of the historic nature of it. It was the first time brothers get traded. Pretty interesting.
And Troy Stetcher, from what we know, because I know he was with the Kings for some time. I've seen him with the Red Wings. Now he's with the Flames. He can be a bottom six defenseman that they can throw in there. He's sitting on the third line right now. So as we talked about, Cooper, it wasn't an opportunity for Brad Treliving to do much. But in order to get him to be an extra forward, a sixth or seventh defenseman while you're waiting for Michael Stone to come back in the lineup, I think that was necessary. But now all that matters is getting points in the standings here.
Yeah, you're right. And, and I actually forget who this is attributed to. It was either Darryl Sutter. I actually, in fact, think it was Darryl Sutter, head coach of the Calgary Flames, who describing his thoughts about the acquisition of Troy Stetcher, he actually compared him directly and by name to a player that I think the Flames have missed this year, which is Oliver Shillington.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's always worth mentioning, if the folks haven't heard our previous broadcasts, Oliver Shillington's been out and unable to play this year due to personal matters. And he's a Swedish defenseman for the Flames, has been on the squad for a couple of years, and hopefully will be able to return at some point if he's able. But either way, that's an intriguing piece that Darryl Sutter makes a direct comparison. And I think it's complimentary. I think it really says what Sutter believes Stetcher can bring to this team. And the Flames do need a little extra jump on the blue line. I love what I've seen from Tanev tonight. He's been very solid in his time with Calgary. As I've said, maybe too often, really like what Weegar has brought lately. I am a fan of Noah Hanifin. I generally like his game quite a bit. I even like Michael Stone when he's available, but unfortunately he's been out with injury. So, hey, here comes Troy Stetcher. And, I can see tonight, just the eye test, John, and you can let me know if you've noticed at all or maybe not. But I've liked that he's had a little jump in his game, and seems to be taking the opportunity with his new team to really light a fire. And every single time I ever make a reference about heat, fire, or temperature, it's always a pun. I promise I don't mean to. But bottom line, I actually like what I've seen from Setcher tonight.
No, I do too. And what I'm going to do right now, because we'll have some time, in the second intermission, I'm going to talk about some of the Red Wings stuff. I have an ESPN comment that I want to get with you, as well as some John Cooper thoughts. But let's go through the scoreboard now, because pretty much everything else is final. The only other game in progress besides ours are the Kings and Blues, and they have a 1-0 lead on the rebuilding Blues. So I'll start with some of the stuff in the West. The Nashville Predators, this might not seem like a big thing, but again, they have games in hand, and if they can continue to win, they might have a say in what happens in the wild card. Maybe unlikely, but still, they get a 3-1 win over the Blackhawks. It was 3 goals, Philip Tomasino, Tyson Barrie now with the Nashville Predators, and Colton Sissons. Seth Jones got the lone goal, as it was a chance for Jussi Saros. He stopped 27 out of 28 as they beat the Blackhawks. But this is the big one, Cooper, and I was watching this before getting ready to get everything else on the stats. Winnipeg, and this is what I was going to say during the broadcast, now we can say it because we're in the intermission, they were 0-4-1 in their last 5. And the reason why Calgary and Winnipeg have stayed with the same amount of points is because they both struggled a little bit. Well, now Winnipeg broke out in a huge way. Jack Campbell was in net. He gave up 7, and Winnipeg just absolutely stomped on Edmonton after losing off the back-to-back. This time they won 7-5.
Yeah, and what the Winnipeg Jets said tonight, they said, Leon Draisaitl's slated for a hat trick. We don't care. We're going to score 7. So they took care of business on the offensive side. I mean, obviously the goaltending is leaving a lot to be desired when there are 12 goals up on the board. But my goodness, John, 7 goals tonight, 6 including the empty netter to seal things off. But also Josh Morrissey with a couple of goals. Nice performance from him. And Winnipeg, I think they are feeling similarly to the Flames. Obviously, they're, of course, technically in different positions. But after struggling over the past 5 or 6 games, they turn it around against a really good. But, there's no two ways around it. Edmonton's a really good team. And they did some work tonight, and the Flames need to do the very same thing. They're smart enough to know they're in the room right now. They're going to know those results. And if that is what they need to motivate them, then so be it. It's the Flames' turn to answer and get the W.
No, you're exactly correct. And again, as you said, with the Draisaitl hat, it was also a chance for Bukestad, and he got on the board as well. But the Winnipeg Jets still won. And when I look in another end of the locker room for Winnipeg, I see a lot of talent. I know what the goaltending can bring. Morrissey's had a career year, so they desperately need to get it going too. This was another big one, and this actually helped out the Calgary Flames because this puts the Avalanche in the wildcard spot right now. So the Flames entered this contest 6 points out. Dallas Stars break out in a humongous way. They beat the Colorado Avalanche 7-3 tonight. So, go ahead.
John, no, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I just want to say that we know what the Avalanche can bring. We have seen it firsthand. Obviously, they're defending Stanley Cup champions. But, we've talked a ton about Klingberg tonight. I made an impact for that playoff Dallas Stars team last year. But, the Dallas Stars, even though their roster's changed a little bit, they are by no means a slouch in the Western Conference. They have the capability to do that to their opponents, what they did to Colorado tonight on any given night. And they also may be just starting to ramp things up at the right time here.
You see, as we talked about the other day with the Max Domi deal, if that swings into play, so Jason Robertson gets a pair of goals, Miro Heiskanen as well. The ageless one, Joe Pavelski from Robertson and Hintz. So multiple points from that first line yet again, as we always talk about. And Alexander Georgiev got a 5 spot hung on him as it was 14 out of 19. Keith Kincaid, the backup goaltender, as we said that they've just signed for Colorado, he had to get some mop-up duty and relief. And for Colorado, it's not going to end because they're going to be playing against the Seattle Kraken tomorrow. I believe I'm going to do that game at 9, but that is going to put 7 out of 7 work days for me, which I've never done. So with all the stuff going on next week, I probably won't be able to do any streams, so I'm making up for it right now.
You, my friend, more than any other I know, you're a glutton for punishment when it comes to your your broadcast schedule, but I am certainly the beneficiary of your work ethic because it's an absolute joy to join up with you on these. And of course, you've been so gracious. It's always the Calgary Flames, and fortunately, they're in meaningful games right now. It just happens to be from a position where they are chasing the teams above them. But hey, at least they're keeping it interesting. We'll see how for much longer, especially if if this game were to end in a victory for the Minnesota Wild, because as you noted, John, every one of these matters so much, and it is almost do or die throughout this next 3-game stretch.
Yes, it is. I want to get to the rest of these scores because, like I said, in the second intermission, we will talk about some other poignant comments that have gone across the board right now. And this is apropos because they showed the Maple Leafs and the Vancouver Canucks as there was some heavy fisticuffs and things like that. We talked about Austin Matthews the other night when we did our broadcast, and I mentioned about his 200-foot game. He did come back into this contest as we're looking right now, and I was just going to talk about this. He took a shot block off his knee. Ryan O'Reilly got hit in the back end of it too, so Maple Leafs had to pay the price as they took the loss 4-1 to the Vancouver Canucks. But we'll see what's going on with Austin Matthews. That was his 75th shot block of the season, which leads all forwards. The Capitals get a big win over the Sharks. That was 8-3. I want to see if Alex Ovechkin gets on the board against the San Jose Sharks as he did. He got his 34th and 35th as it was all caps in the back end. They score 4 times. They get a big win. Again, Washington has been heavy sellers. But no matter where you look at in the standings, Cooper, all these teams, regardless of where they are, you still got to make a run for it because you're not out of it just yet.
Yeah, you're right. And I just, you set me up with a really nice opportunity to follow up on something that we commented on a couple of nights ago, and that is how well-rounded Austin Matthews is as a hockey player. Obviously, he gets tons of attention. Obviously, the goal scoring draws the eyeballs, draws the media coverage. It's sensational. But you know what? When you are selling out like that for your team and you're putting yourself on the line, and it's dozens and dozens and dozens of times, and you put yourself at risk, right? If you're going to put yourself in a shot lane, you're going to block that puck. It's coming 80, 85, 90, 95 miles per hour. And if it hits you on a spot where the pad's 8, look out. And I certainly hope that he bounces back because he's such a joy to watch. And, John, you made a great point a few nights ago. What a well-rounded player in this league.
Yes, he is. In the Eastern Conference, we'll switch gears a little bit as this was Florida Panthers. They get a 4-1 win over the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's specifically important because Florida needs points in Pittsburgh. They had won 4 out of their last 5. They've been on a heater of late. Got cooled off a little bit. Casey DeSmith, not too bad. He stopped 38 out of 42. He was busy. It was just Big Bob on the other net. Sergei Bobrovsky, 31 out of 32. Carter Verhaeghe gets the lone goal in the third as it was Aaron Ekblad and Ito Luosterainen in the second. Chris Letang got the only goal of the game for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So again, why that is important is because every other team in the wild card race or in a spot has won. The Red Wings got stomped by the New York Islanders. It was 4-1, and we'll talk about some of those other trades in the second intermission. Magnus Hellberg got the start in net tonight, 32 out of 36. The reason why, Ville Husso is going to miss next of the several games. He had started 11 out of the last 13. Maybe that means Alex Nedeljkovic can get some time off the call-up from the Griffins. So they'll have to showcase him a little bit, but it was Ilya Sorokin. We know how good he is. He stopped 22 out of 23. Dylan Larkin, power play goal. It was 1-0 after 2, but it was all Islanders after that. Zach Parise, Anders Lee, Kyle Palmieri, and Lee again, and the 4-1 win. And the other ones that we'll talk about that are specifically important, it was a 5-3 win for the Buffalo Sabres over the Lightning. Again, we will get to those comments in an extended discussion on that side of it. Alex Killorn scored 2 goals in the third period for Tampa, and Braden Point opened the scoring, but it was Tage Thompson, Vinny Hinostroza, Tyson Yost, Jack Quinn, and Jeff Skinner as Buffalo continues to get hot. And on the other end of it as well, the Ottawa Senators, I know it's the Blue Jackets, but the Ottawa Senators are on a real heater. And now with acquiring Jacob Chychrun, they really got a shot at this thing, Cooper.
Yeah, they do. And, you read my mind, John. As soon as you started talking about the Sabres, I won't lie. Listen, the Sabres are a great team. But I wondered if you were going to get to the Ottawa results, and man, oh man, they are scorching. There's no two ways around it right now. They're playing excellent hockey, and if we would have flashed back, let's say to 2018, 2019, right, we're talking about the Sabres and the Senators in very different terms. But this is the nature of the league, right? Things are cyclical, and it looks like the cycle is coming into some special things for the Sabres and the Senators in particular.
Yeah, the other big thing that we talked about, especially with Chychrun, he's got a couple more years left on that contract as well. And again, as I like to talk about, in between Stützle and DeBrincat and Tkachuk and Shane Pinto and all the other names you want to throw, they didn't have to give up Ridley Greig. There's some other players like that. They're all between 20 and 25 years of age. And you have that back-end defense with Artem Zub and Tomas Chabot and some of these other players like that. They're really, really good. The only thing you were concerned about, even their back-end goaltending, I seen Kevin Mandolese, last week against the Bruins, which he played really well, but it was the Bruins. They lost 3-1. They won the first two games before that, did Ottawa. And then some other 6'8" goaltender in Mads Søgaard. This is a team that everybody expected, like Cooper and I talked about, that was during our free agency show, that Ottawa made all of those splashes. And when was it going to turn around? Everybody wanted it to be this year because you see the name Claude Giroux. But you got to understand, these guys have really yet to play together for a full season. And when they get acclimated with all that talent, I really think Ottawa is going to push the pedal to the metal. I would say next year, even if they don't get in this year, next year, I would think that they could be a bona fide playoff team.
Yeah, you said it. And really, I don't have much to add because you really nailed it right there. It's just now allowing time for this roster to gel. In the offseason, you would certainly think that naturally there are going to be 1, 2, 3 moves and players in different places. But the Ottawa Senators seem to be set for the near future and kind of that middle distant future. And frankly, I'm excited. I mean, listen, I pay attention to teams in Western Canada. I'm out here on the West Coast in the U.S. I know you're in the Midwest. But you know what? I have reason to pay attention to the Ottawa Senators now. They're an exciting squad. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do, making noise this year, and then absolutely, as you pointed out, next year it's all bets are off. I think they could be one to watch for sure.
Absolutely. And then the one final score that we can get to, because again in the second intermission it'll be a little bit lengthier. I'll try to negotiate that a little bit better as we'll go across to some deadline moves and some pointed comments. But it was Charlie Coyle opening the scoring for the Boston Bruins, and then Tomas Nosek 30 seconds in the second from Alexei Lafreniere after that for the Rangers to make it 2-1 after 2. But then it was Patrice Bergeron and David Pastrnak, 44 goals on the season. Charlie McAvoy got his 38th assist with David Krejci his 37th. Alexei Lafreniere gets a pair of goals. Linus Ullmark only gives up 2, yet again, 2 or less for that man. A .923 save percentage. And on the other end, Igor Shesterkin, 20 out of 24. When we look at Patrick Kane today, he was a -2 with no points. And again, Vlad Tarasenko, he had 1 apple for a -1. So it will take time for Patrick Kane and Vlad Tarasenko. I'm not throwing that out as a shot. I'm just throwing that out because they've just been added. Jimmy Vesey used to be on the first line. Now he's on the fourth line. So there's a lot of stuff left to do here for the Rangers against one of the best teams we've ever seen.
Yeah, no, and you're right, John. It is worth saying. I mean, hey, you spend your whole career in the Windy City and then make your move to the Big Apple if you're Patrick Kane. Even though, hey, that can be your number one spot when making a move. That's what he wanted. He got what he desired. But it doesn't mean you're just going to make magic the instant that you hit the ice there at MSG. So we'll keep an eye on the Patrick Kane situation. I mean, I would imagine he will settle in and start making an impact more regularly very soon. But okay, we have the time. We have a couple of minutes left before we get ready to drop the puck for our second period at the Saddle Dome. I'm just going to put the question out there, John. We can both answer it, but since I'm asking, I'll let you go first.
Okay.
Are the Boston Bruins going to win it all? That's what I want to know.
I'm going to say no. And the only reason I say no is because they have to get through the Eastern Conference. And that is going to be hellacious as far as New Jersey, New York, Tampa, everything. It's almost impossible impossible to predict who's going to make it. They might be the best team, but anybody can be beaten, even especially when you throw Carolina in there. So I'm going to say no.
You and I, once again, we are like minds, my friend. I actually believe that you are correct. I agree with you. I'm like you said, you basically listed all the heavy hitters, right? We're looking at the Rangers, especially if Patty Kane does settle in as we expect him to. The Devils, 40 wins, right? Hurricanes, 40 wins. The Maple Leafs are knocking on the door with 38. And the Tampa Bay Lightning, they last time I checked, remain the Tampa Bay Lightning. So that's not even accounting for the wild card teams, which are going to shift a little bit. But you've got the Penguins and the Islanders right there. We'll see if the Sabres and the Senators can jump into a spot. But yeah, I agree with you, my friend. I think someone else is going to take the Stanley Cup final spot out of the East. I actually think the Bruins won't make it to that final round. So do you feel like I should take the play-by-play here as we drop the puck for the second, or do you want to keep going?
Let's take it. You could take it the rest of the way, Cooper. Take the 40 minutes.
Well, we'll see. You nailed it in the first, so we can keep an eye on things. But right now we have just about 15 seconds elapsed here in the second period. It's a 1-0 hockey game. The Minnesota Wild are in town, and that is Cowtown to be exact. That is Calgary, Alberta. And the Minnesota Wild are moving right to left in this period. The Calgary Flames in their blasty jerseys are moving left to right. There's a shot right on it. Markstrom had to snap down with the blocker, and there it's bouncing in front, sticks all over the place. And boy, oh boy, Hartman hangs his head for a moment because he almost made it 2-zip if it weren't for Markstrom's save.
Man, we talked about exactly what Calgary wanted to do coming out of the dressing room and provide that urgency. How about 3 straight saves for Markstrom, 2 off deflections, 1 in the middle of the slot. And as you said, that bounce back might have actually hit Zuccarello, and then a chance for Hartman as he falls down with his head in the air.
Yeah, Zuccarello, I think he caught Markstrom's initial save off of his either his chin or his visor. But yeah, he snapped his head back, but basically had a shot on net from his helmet. So either way, it's going to be 12 shots now for Minnesota and just the 8 that the Flames had in the first period. They have no shots on goal yet in this second, and we're just 50 seconds in as Lindholm slings one from the near corner. It's off the outside of the cage and up into the netting for a stoppage.
So I know we always go through this, but the question is, what do we see in the second half of this game? Again, that'll mark the 10-minute mark of the second period officially. That's how they like to do it in a 60-minute game. Calgary usually starts strong. Now they're behind, and we'll see if they can start firing some pucks at the net.
You're absolutely right. There's a first attempt that leaves a lot to be desired. That was Mackenzie Weegar setting up Rasmus Andersson for the 1T. Toffoli for the 1T, and he whiffed on that one. But the Flames still have it in the O-zone for the moment, and they'll have a face-off in the O-zone because that shot goes off the body and out of play for another whistle.
The second one was a much better opportunity for the Flames, as it was a good screen provided by Dube, but it was an excellent shot block by the Minnesota Wild off the D. You got to pay the price this time of year, and anytime you play hockey, blocking shots, as we talked about, that is no picnic.
Nope, not at all. Austin Matthews can tell you that. So can Mark Giordano. He has one of the highest block shot totals in NHL history. But right now we're live again, and the Flames cannot win the O-zone draw, so they're chasing the puck right now in the near corner. That's Jonathan Huberdeau, and there is John Klingberg, whose name we've mentioned several times, formerly of the Anaheim Ducks and the Dallas Stars. And his clearing attempt actually slides all the way down the fresh ice, and it will be an icing. So we'll take it back to the Minnesota end for a faceoff.
I know you mentioned this too about Jacob Pelletier and Walker Duehr, but from the few games that we've done so far, and I've seen them in the lineup, they provide a lot of speed and a lot of oomph, and we'll see if they can carry that into this second period as well.
Yep, absolutely. It looks like we're going to have I was going to say we have a face-off win for the Wild, but I think we're going to do this one again. So in there right now is Nazem Kadri. He's going to face off against Freddie Gaudreau. And Kadri, nice clean win back to the left point. Huberdeau holds it in at the blue line. Now the puck's bouncing to Gustafson's right. Going to be picked up by the Wild and headmanned out, but that pass misses Marcus Foligno. But it is picked up by the Wild. Now skating in is Sam Steele. He tries to do it himself, and he does a great job right there. As for Roy, the referee, bit of bad puck luck right there, and the Flames are going to come the other way. But the puck is loose. It's picked up and backhanded along, now held at the center red line. Here comes Foligno again. He sidesteps Nikita Zadorov. That's hard to do, but he does it successfully. Couldn't hold possession, though, and now this one is slung all the way back down to the Minnesota end. Minnesota has a far wall. Going to try to stretch pass here. It's a 3-on-3. The Flames do have numbers back, but Minnesota's setting up with some room. There's a shot along the ice from distance that Markstrom paddles aside with ease. And the loose puck will be picked up by the Flames. Now they come toward the near wall. It's going to be held by Lewis, dropped off for Dewar. And Dewar put one right on to Gustafsson, and he paddles that aside. So one for Markstrom, one for Gustafsson, using those big sticks. And it should be 9 shots now for Calgary. Hasn't been marked up on the board yet. There it is. Thank you, Sportsnet. And we have 17:35 to go here in the second. Cooper Hopkins now on the play-by-play with John Ott taking the analysis. And we'll see, John. We'll flip a coin when we get to the second intermission. We'll see who gets to take the play-by-play as we move forward. But taking the puck right now is number 8, Chris Tanev, the former Vancouver Canuck, now Calgary Flame. One of the best defensemen in the Western Conference. And this puck is picked up by Rasmus Andersson. Goes for a sharp angle pass right there. Was looking to get it into the blue paint, couldn't do so. And Blake Coleman, he's noticeable yet again. Nice check there at neutral ice. And there's Markstrom coming up with a solid glove save. And Ryan Reeves, this is a reaction we've seen from the Wild a few times, John. They've had clean opportunities to get the puck on net, but Markstrom says no.
Yeah, Ryan Reeves is a big man as he fought through a little bit of that stick lift. And there was just a little bit of touch there from Weegar. I don't think he wants to be anywhere close near that weight class.
No. I think of all the things Weegar does well, I don't think I or he want to drop the gloves against Ryan Reeves tonight. So, and actually worth noting, thanks to the Sportsnet statisticians, a goal and an assist in the last 2 games for Reeves, so he's not just physical. And there's a slap shot attempt by the Wild near the blue line that leaves a lot. I just keep saying that, John. Leaves a lot to be desired. Either way, my play-by-play improvisation leaves a lot to be desired. There's Mangiapane getting hot as an icing is called against Calgary, and he has to get separated by the referees, and Goligoski's right there, but I think Rasmus Andersson now doubled over heading to the bench. Maybe Mangiapane was frustrated what happened to his teammate.
Oh, I'm getting a replay now. There was a little bit of hook and hold against Rasmus Andersson as he got taken down. I think the Flames have a beef there.
You're right. That was pretty blatant, but it was behind the play. I think all of the referee and linesman's attentions were actually turning toward the puck moving the other way along the ice. And in fact, no, I'm incorrect. There was a linesman right there who made no call. John, that looked like a trip to me.
Absolutely. And now something going on with the goal stick of the netminder, Jacob Markstrom.
Boy, John, what is it with our games and sticks? There's almost a stick issue. And Markey's going to get, luckily, has a nice backup for that with that alternate colorway. Just such a great pad set for him. And that helmet is intimidating. He's been intimidating in the crease. He's made some great stops tonight. Just that one unlucky deflection goal that has Minnesota up on the board of 1-0 in tonight's game. So Markstrom, speaking of that stick, he's going to put it into play right away. He forehands one all the way back down the ice. That's about 170 feet right there before it gets picked up by the Wild and sent back down toward Calgary's end, where it's held by Hanifin. Hanifin goes near boards to Tanev. Tanev to the flaming C. That's picked up by Blake Coleman, and he gets the stick in the face, and there's a hand in the air. John, are we going to get a high sticking call here? The Flames may be set up for another power play tonight.
Yes, we are. That's indeed the call, and I'm going to make sure I get the name on it once this pops up.
Yeah, so a nice job right there. The Flames with the stretch pass put the pressure on the Wild, and the penalty is drawn by Blake Coleman. Good game so far for Blake Coleman. We like to say this once a game. Former Tampa Bay Lightning man.
Yes, that shorthanded goal a couple days ago was absolutely electric as well as he gets hooked right in the face. I believe this could be Dumba going to the box from what I'm looking at. Maybe Goligoski as well, but it is Dumba.
Yeah, you're right. It is Dumba. He had the stick in the left hand and just flipped it up into the jaw of Coleman. So it is 2 for high sticking. And this is the Flames' second power play of the night. They are 0 for 1 tonight with just 2 shots. 16 minutes to go in the second. It's a 1-0 game. Minnesota with the lead. Visitors are here at the Scotiabank Saddledome, and the Flames have the puck here on the power play in the near corner. It's held by Huberdeau. He tries to slide this one up to Lindholm, but a nice pass block right there by Jared Spurgeon, who was sprawled out along the ice, but the Flames do an excellent job of holding the zone. Now a floating puck is gloved down, and it will be skated out gingerly by Eriksson Ek. He takes his time. 3 Flames back, but it looks like Minnesota's going to try to set up for a shorthanded opportunity here. But guess who? Mikael Backlund. He does it all for the Flames. Great back check right there, and he gets the steal. Now here comes Backlund. He will backhand this pass. Now picked up by Nazem Kadri. A little deke right there. He turns. He goes to the far turned aside by Gustafsson. So a minute to go in the power play. The puck on edge scoots all the way back down to Markstrom, who comes out of his crease to handle it. Here come the Flames, near boards, near the penalty boxes, but it's turned over. Nice checking right there by the Wild. That was, I believe, Connor Dewar. And there's a shot on the short hand that is taken by Markstrom. Thought there was a whistle, but excuse me, we are going to play on with 40 seconds in the man advantage for Calgary. Puck near the players' benches. That was Dillon Dube with it momentarily. Now it's backhanded and shot from distance. That's a classic Flames move right there. Just try to get it into the traffic down low. So here we go, D to D. Now Backlund has it. He'll fire. Gustafsson couldn't see it. He tried to get the trapper on it, but it might have gone off his mask. Now Backlund gets it back from the circle again. He'll fire. This one's off of a skate. Goes wide to the right and out of the zone to neutral ice. So 10 seconds to go here. Flames looking to make a change. We'll see if they can do so. Jacob Pelche has the puck. Has to scoot it all the way back to his netminder, Markstrom. Now he gets it back. Number 49, a young player for Calgary, will sling it forward. Mangiapane had it, but his entry attempt is no good. And it's 3-on-2 the other way. Here come the Wild. They have room, and that's Markstrom making maybe his best save of the night. He has kept this game 1-0 when it probably should be 2-zip. And here's Mangiapane. He'll just slap this one in. The penalty expired several seconds ago, so we're back to even strength here. 14 shots for the Wild, 10 for the Calgary Flames, which also was a bit of an anomaly. Normally they'd have double that by now. There's a good stretch pass right here. The Wild are trying to come in. A toe drag attempt doesn't work. Flames are going to come out the other way. Walker Dewar gets spun around, can't find possession. So I have to take a deep breath as there's been a lot of action here in the last minute or so. 13 minutes and 30 seconds to go here in the second. Cooper Hopkins on play-by-play with John Ott. The classic now broadcast team. I think we've been doing this long enough to call it classic, John. We got ourselves a pretty good rapport. And Milan Lucic has a good rapport with Walker Dewar, 17-71. And there's a shot off of a clearing attempt right there that has to be covered by Gustafsson as Lucic was on the doorstep, and he's having a chat with a couple of the Minnesota Wild. So, John, lots of back and forth here in the Flames. They almost get one, and guess what? Minnesota almost got one to make it 2-0.
Yeah, that was a good call by you on the back and forth action. That one, it seemed like it was almost going off the left post, but Markstrom able to make the save, and then again between Dewar and Lucic, a couple of shots off the rebound opportunity. Gustafsson able to hold on and make the save. That was our longest extended period of action between these two teams, so maybe we'll get some offense after all.
Yeah, you know what's interesting here is we're starting to see a period that actually looks a lot like the first period. I think those first 5, 6, 7 minutes in period number 1, I wouldn't call it a fully traditional feeling out period, but it was very evenly matched, and we didn't see the pace really pick up until about halfway through that 20 minutes. And John, tell me if I'm crazy, but I'm seeing something similar here in the second.
I think that's going to be the case right now. Both goaltenders have been pretty good. Jacob Markstrom stopped 14 out of 15. Gustafsson 12 for 12 right now. Looking at our team stats, 15 to 12 on the shot board in favor for the Wild, 12 to 9 on the hits for Calgary. So for the specific stretch of play that we had, at least it knocked down some of those hits that we were on pace for. 18 to 11 on the faceoff circle for the Minnesota Wild. And again, 2 penalties for the Minnesota Wild, but Calgary can't convert on either one of their power plays, so it always makes me wonder where the next call is going to end up from. And it's going to be a critical kill for Calgary. And as we talked about in our last few games here, their penalty kill percentage has not been all that great over the recent stretch, so they got to make sure they continue to stay on the box.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you know, by no means do we want to be negative for its own sake, but you know, the excellent play of Jacob Markstrom makes a fact that you just identified even that much more obvious, which is just the truth. The Flames have so much trouble scoring, John. And of course, now we're back with the Sportsnet feed. We're getting a replay package of the Flames scoring some pretty goals right here, including one from Pelche right there as he celebrated with Huberdeau on the bench. But that was several games ago. And the Flames just need to find anyone to put the puck in the back of the net. It's just that simple.
Yeah, that's what you have right now. It's all hands on deck for a team that used all hands on deck to score. They got to get it going.
Absolutely. So a faceoff's going to come to Gustafsson's right. It's going to be won by the Flames. Pelche tries to swing this one around the end boards, does so. Now, here's Stetcher on the ice, the new defenseman for the Calgary Flames, wearing number 51 on his plastic jersey. He tries to hold it in and is able to do so, where it's picked up by Nazem Kadri. Now, Kadri has it. He'll try to go to the point, and that one is off of a stick, but the Flames hold it in yet again. Good job by Calgary here, just to keep things in the Minnesota end and have them chase the puck, as opposed to the other way around. around. Kadri right there gets the puck through one of the Wild skates. Now here's a pass out to Stetcher. Stetcher pinching from the blue line. Steele tries to get it out. Now Stetcher having a great shift right now. Gets it to Huberdeau. Huberdeau on the backhand slings it back into the center. And Pelche will pick up. Now guess who's got it? Stetcher again with a wrister. He wants his first as a Flame, but that went just wide. And it'll be held by Gustafsson. Boy, John loved what I just saw from Troy Stetcher.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and you make your first appearance on a new team right now. You're getting yourself in a position to hold the blue line, get into a spot where you can get shots. A little bit higher part of the blue line in the middle of the slot, the high slot, get your chances to shoot at. Huberdeau providing the screen. That's good-looking offense there.
Yes, it is, and we see from the other angle, his wrister was a little bit wide, but you know what? I love that. Have a little confidence, step into a role, and try to make a difference for your team that needs somebody to make a difference, especially right now, as the Flames are still down 1-0 to the Wild, thanks to Johansson, who had the goal earlier. Again, I thought it was Eriksson Ek who had that second deflection in the first period, but it's still to Johansson. So the Flames now have the Wild take over at neutral ice, and will backhand this one into the trapezoid behind Markstrom. Bit of a dangerous pass right there, but hey, he knows what he's doing. That's why he's getting paid the big bucks. He's able to get it to a teammate, and the Flames clear it back to neutral ice, and now the Wild hold in their own end. There's a stretch pass to the penalty box area, and now it's cross-iced, and Markstrom stays in his net as the puck bounces around the end boards behind him. Eriksson Ek looks for the puck there. Now it's loose, but no Minnesota Wild are in the slot. The puck was there ready to be taken, but now taking the puck is Mikael Backlund. Tries to stop on a dime, but lets that thing slide behind Gustafsson. Now, coming out with the puck is Matt Boldy for the Wild. Boldy's going to try to go 45-degree angle through the neutral zone, but it's bouncing, now picked up by Calgary. Going to be taken here by Mangiapane. He goes for the wrister, and boy, ends up looking like a moonshot. That went off of a deflection way up into the netting, so we'll have a face-off in the Minnesota end.
So we get a chance yet again to look at the Jacob Markstrom highlight package, and Eriksson Ek and Weegar, that'll be the one that I remember there on that side, as there's some pushing and shoving, a little more punching, but Markstrom's looked really good in the last couple of games. It's the best that he's looked throughout the season. He just needs to get some run support here.
Yeah, he does, and that highlight package showed me another detail that his agility seems to be much improved over what we've seen for most of the season, and unfortunately, as we shift to talking about the face-off here, Mikael Backlund knocked out of the face-off dot. It's going to be taken by Coleman, and he promptly loses that ozone draw. Minnesota Wild will send this one all the way down, and Kaprizov's there, so no icing. He was in a great position, the forward for the Wild, and the Wild will hold in right here. They have it at the far point, now to the near point. Now it's going to go 45-degree, and that one's to no one. Going to be taken by Hanifin and cleared out. We'll see if there's an icing here, as the puck has a little bit extra draw weight, and yes, it will be an icing against the Flames.
So we're almost halfway through our second period right now. It's still 1-0, as Cooper said, from Marcus Johansson off the double deflection. And this is still talking about, just like on the Sportsnet side and everything else we talk about between these two teams, another low-scoring affair right now, 15 shots to 13 in favor of Minnesota as they get set for a draw.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be Backlund again. He gets an opportunity to redeem himself, and it won't be against Hartman. So last time Backlund waved out. This time it's his opponent, Hartman. Now Zuccarello will step in. So 38 for 36. And we'll see if the referee's ready to drop the puck here. He waits and waits. And a clean win for Minnesota. That was right to the high slot. And the shot attempt goes bouncing and not too dangerously to Markstrom's left. So 10:50 to go here in the second. There's a slapper that goes across the crease way up high on the glass and rattles back down to the ice surface. Mangiapane on the nice forecheck right there. He got his skates tangled up. It's not going to be a trip, even though he went down to the ice. Some of the fans here probably want a penalty. They will not get one. 15-13 on the shot board as Kaprizov has the puck. He's checked right there by Trevor Lewis. Boy, good job on the physicality side by the Flames forwards tonight, but they also have to remember their job is primarily to score goals. It's still 1-0. And here we go with Minnesota in the offensive end, but the Flames will take over after the puck is knocked loose. And now Walker Duehr comes up the right side. He's going to try to skate around. Excuse me, that was John Merrill. Almost said John Klingberg. So I had the right first name, got to get the right last name. And the puck is flipped up toward Rasmus Andersson. And he will pin one of the Wild against the board. That's Mason Shaw. First time we've said his name in this contest tonight. And the puck is now picked up in the far corner by, that is Zadorov for Calgary. Now,
I was going to see maybe if we lost Cooper there momentarily, or I'll go ahead and pick it up. So 9:45 left to go in the second. I'm just picking this up just in case it doesn't come back. This goes across the flame and seed right now is Nazem Kadri. We'll get this back here for Klingberg. And now Merrill. It's Shaw. He's got it now on the right-hand side as he'll flip it all the way down. And this will find Noah Hanifin as this will touch the stick of Markstrom. And now the Flames have this in their own end as they'll make a long bank pass across the red line side as Jacob Pelchier will collect near the right side red line. He avoids a hit from Marcus Foligno. Kadri puts this back D to D, and this will be picked up. Sam Steele off of the flip pass as this will go back now for Tanev. Leave it here for Hanifin. Hanifin trying to get this in between left to right for the Calgary Flames here. They're wearing their Blasty jerseys right now at Scotiabank Saddledome. It's a 1-0 lead for the Minnesota Wild, courtesy of Marcus Johansson. Minnesota Wild will be going right to left as Jared Spurgeon has it now. They have the forest green pants with the white shirts. Boldy, excellent skate. It's 1-on-3. He still keeps it alive off the backhand. We'll spin this all the way around as this goes near the right side of the post and goes all the way around the inboards. And now this will be picked up by the Flames in their own end with Nikita Zadorov. I'm just checking to see if Cooper is going to be back yet or what's going on with that. As now this is a chance, this is flipped, but it's not out. Picked up near the left side red line and a penalty hand upcoming in the air with 8:25 in the second. So Troy Stecher going to be called for interference, and it's going to put Minnesota on the first power play as we go to commercial break with 8:25 left to go in the second. So I'll get Cooper back in here. I don't know if he just lost internet access or whatever it was. He said, Joe Rogan says, thank you for the good play-by-play. This game is boring, L. Yeah, it's happening right now. This is welcome to the Minnesota Wild. I know the Calgary Flames like to play this way too, but Minnesota's been playing this way probably for the last 16 games or so. So that's how it's going to have to continue. And Cooper will get back in here. I'm sure he just lost power or something happened with the phone dying or whatever else it is. I'll have to plug mine in by the time we get to the third period on the Twitter Spaces side. If anyone wants any clear audio, you can go on the Twitter Spaces side as far as the phone. It's the same at John right now, but I appreciate that as always, Joe. In the second intermission, whether it's me or whatever else, I will make sure that I talk about some of the other comments that I want to talk about, as well as the ESPN interaction that was on one of the first take shows. I wanted to make sure we went to the scoreboard in the first period because there was a lot to get to. But I'll talk about some of the other pieces when we get back into it. I'll get Cooper back in here now. So in the middle of a commercial break, we have about 8:25 left to go in the second. It should be Minnesota going to the power play when we return to action.
Well, John, I have to apologize. I actually thought for a very rare occurrence, I thought that you might have been having technical difficulties. I did not realize that for about 20 seconds, apparently my T-Mobile coverage just decided to stop coveraging. So I was calling the game just to myself here in my living room. I'm not sure when I dropped out, but I'm sure you took over seamlessly, and apologies. I'm good for one game, my friend. There's always going to be a technical difficulty. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's all good. I just picked it up and put myself on mute, so this is all you.
All right, excellent. So, as John said, it's going to be the first penalty of the night against the Calgary Flames, which results in the first power play of the night for the Minnesota Wild. They have 10 seconds gone here in this man advantage. We'll see what they can do with it. The Flames have been struggling on the penalty kill of late, but they have to make a big play right here and keep the puck out of the net in order to keep themselves in this game the way this goal scoring is going. So 8 minutes to go here in the second. The Wild do have it at the blue line. Going to go D to D here. That Zuccarello steps into the circle where he's checked right there by Lindholm. Almost thought that was Coleman, but we're looking at 2-8, not 2-0. Now Zuccarello gets it back. He's going to send it back to the blue line. Here is Klingberg. We've talked about him a lot in his offensive prowess. He's going to get a pass back. Nope, excuse me. That bounces from underneath his stick off the boards into the Flames, where it's chipped back down the ice for a clear. So the Flames were solid against Toronto with a penalty kill percentage of 100%. Now, John, hey, got to note it. We got a stick on the ice, and unfortunately, that's Weavers. He gets it flicked back to him right there by Trevor Lewis. Nice assist on the stick flip. And here's the puck on the stick of Matt Boldy, and it bounces into the high slot. Now the Wild have it looking for a shot attempt. It's bouncing in front again. Zuccarello slings it across the blue paint, and the Wild will luckily hold it in. So now they have it at the far boards. coming from distance. Once again, a bouncing puck, and Markstrom has to settle himself back into the blue paint. 30 seconds to go here in the power play, just under that, in fact. Zuccarello now has the puck again. Going to go for that shot across. The 1T wasn't that spicy, so it goes to Markstrom's right. 15 seconds to go here in the power play, but the Flames can't get it out. More extended ozone time on this power play. Zuccarello down low. Going to send it in. It bounces off the side of the net now. The Flames will look to clear, and they will do so successfully, and that should kill this power play. So 2 seconds, 1 second down to even strength. Still 1-0 Minnesota, but the Flames do a good job to get their kill. That's their first and only attempt to do so on the night. 6:15 to go, and this puck flutters into Markstrom's glove from about halfway through the Flames neutral zone, Flames offensive zone, and we'll have a face-off.
So I will say this. I know I'm not a head coach. I know I try to cover a lot of games and this and that, and the NHL is not my beat. But when we're looking at the Minnesota power play, and we've seen them move it around, I think they were aided and it was kept in the zone because the puck bounced off Rasmus Andersson and Mackenzie Weegar and got deflected back in between the middle of the circles. Do not deflect the puck back in the middle of circles. You got to get that one out.
Yeah, there have been a lot of bouncing pucks tonight, John, and there have also been a lot of Flames bounced out of face-offs. That's Nazem Kadri is going to get waved out of this one, and so Jacob Pelche, the youngster, is going to step in. Let's see what he can do. This defensive zone draw. It's kind of a neutral face-off result right there, and after a shot attempt from the blue line, it's going to bounce to the Flames. Partial 2-on-2 here. Here comes Kadri. He's got a little bit of room. He sails that wrister high. So that was up and over to Gustafsson. The Flames still have possession here. Going to be sent in again. That one is gloved down. Now just a little extra between Middleton and Pelche. Pelche, the smaller man there, he is taking issue with something, John. So the Flames are fired up, but they have to stay focused. A goal is all they need right now.
Yeah, they do. A little bit of push from Middleton on the other end. As you can see, a little bit of size and weight difference there. But I do love the effort from the young guns that you see from Dewar and Pelche. But we're going to go to commercial break with 5:57 in the second.
Yes, we are. So, it's worth saying, I don't think it was the strongest penalty-killing performance by the Flames, but you know what? They got the job done. They kept the puck out of their own net, and they seem to be helping out Markstrom a little bit better here in this second. There are too many bouncing pucks for my liking, but they're able to clear the slot, and Minnesota hasn't had a ton of grade A chances.
Right.
But this is what we always talk about, John. The defending, the neutral zone game, that's well and good. But you know what? You're down right now. And how and who is going to create offensive chances for the Flames on the other end?
I just can't believe, and I could say probably in totality, Cooper, and it's not been all Flames, but the amount of broadcasts that we've done, and probably close to about the 35-40 range. But as many times as we've covered Calgary, we've asked ourselves that question every game, at least like once or twice a game, because it just has to be answered. I know it's something by committee, but it can't always be Toffoli, Kadri. And again, we can't always have to say the things about Jonathan Huberdeau, but he had another one of those where it was open in the middle of a slot and he didn't shoot. That could have been a time where he easily could have had a 1-0 lead, but instead would at least been 1-1 and be tied. So yeah, we'll have to figure out that same answer to these questions that we just haven't had all year, my friend.
I know. Normally I'd say you'd want something like a whiteboard, right? You get prepped for a game. Well, okay, what are the points that we want to cover tonight? What are the aspects of tonight's contest that are going to be most interesting? Well, with the Calgary Flames, just break out a Sharpie because it's always the same.
Yeah.
You know, that list hasn't changed really since a few weeks into this season. And you know, part of it's unfortunate. Part of it gives us clear narratives to talk about as we discuss this team, but unfortunately those narratives may lead them to the golf course earlier than they wanted to be in this season as we get closer and closer to the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I was about to jump back into the play-by-play here, and once again, my name is Cooper Hopkins on the play-by-play when I'm not having technical issues, but the man who always jumps in to cover for me and take care of all the intelligent analysis is John Ott, and we'll see, we may be switching off again before this night is done. And there's Lucic, boy, just looming on the Calgary Flames bench right there with a zoom in. 88 fights career, 79 career fights from Ryan Reeves. I think the Sportsnet team is expecting about between those heavyweights this evening. But as we keep saying, the Flames need to just focus on offense and goal-scoring opportunities. They're doing a solid job with their back end. The one goal for Minnesota, bit of a lucky bounce that beat Markstrom in the first period. Again, that goal by Johansson. So no scoring for the Flames. And there's a check right there in the Flames end, and Markstrom has to jump right into play right there. And luckily, he didn't jump at all. He stayed steady, and he turns aside Marcus Foligno to keep it 1-0.
Yes, he did, and that was tremendous body contact. That shook the boards near the right side, and who got a piece of that? That was Sam Steele delivering the body on the third line.
I think so, and the recipient of that, am I correct in saying, I think that was Nikita Zadorov.
Yes.
That's tough to do against a player of that stature.
You really got to get it all if you're going to get Nikita Zadorov. It usually happens as a reverse hit.
Yes, indeed. So 17 shots now for the visiting Minnesota Wild here at the Saddledome, 15 for the home Calgary Flames. 5 minutes and 12 seconds to go here in the second. That pass a bit dangerous out there by the Flames from the trapezoid to the slot area. Now Lewis is going to try to skate it out, but he can't find a teammate. Puck's going to bounce and eventually be picked up by Weegar. Weegar's going to cross-ice this one to Walker Duehr. Walker Duehr with a little bit of space. He will gain the red line and send this one in, so no icing. And the Flames have it in the far corner. Puck squirts loose, though. That's going to be picked up by John Merrill of the Minnesota Wild. He's glanced off the glass and now taken by Reeves, who we mentioned a moment ago. He tries to gain the offensive zone, can't do so. Walker Duehr, headband pass right there to Trevor Lewis. Well, the Wild have numbers back. Well, Lewis gets a shot off. Handcuffs Gustafsson a little bit. He couldn't get into the trapper, but the rebound really didn't have any Calgary Flames in the vicinity, so the Wild were able to get it out. They had it in the neutral zone a moment ago, but Noah Hanifin picks it up in his own end. Now the Flames will come back the other way. Mikael Backlund on the near wall. There's a wrister, one of his best shots of the evening, one of the Flames' best shots of the evening. That's turned aside by the blocker of Philip Gustafsson. And Chris Tanev is pinched down low from his blue line position, gets it out to Coleman. Coleman looking for the deflection. Gustafsson can't find it. Now Mangiapane's looking for it in the trapezoid. It's in the near corner. Picked up right there by Ryan Hartman. Now here comes Minnesota the other way. The Flames do have two men back. That's Mikael Backlund and Noah Hanifin. But the Wild hold it in the O-zone. The centering attempt right there is off of Hanifin's skates. Held right there at the far boards. Puck's going to bounce around to the near corner to Markstrom's right. Chris Tanev flips this one forward, and the puck's bouncing into the slot in front of Gustafsson, but safely taken by the Wild, and now stretched past to the neutral zone. That was targeted for, I believe, Zuccarello. Nope, make that Ryan Hartman. Either way, it bounces around and behind Markstrom, and the Flames will carry this one out. Nazem Kadri's got some speed, going to stop at the half boards on the near side. He'll drop this one off for Huberdeau. Huberdeau looks for a backhand pass right there, kind of a blind attempt, and now coming out of his crease to control the puck that would slid all the way back down is Markstrom, and then a shot comes in from Eriksson Ek from the blue line, and Markstrom has to jump into play yet again, and he makes a nice glove save. So he was able to dump the puck out of the trapper and keep play moving. The Wild have it in their own end with 2 minutes and 58 seconds to go here. Nikita Zadorov blows a tire near his own player bench and chips this one back in, and I think we have an offside call. So I'll get a break right here, John. And interesting, Markstrom was called into action in a bit of a unique way right there.
Yeah, Backlund had some good opportunities near the right circle. We're taking a look at right now, right in the middle of the dots, and that was right off the left pad. But again, I'm glad I muted my mic on that side because I think I slapped my hand against my leg. What the heck was Jonathan Huberdeau doing on that backhand pass? That was dangerous for Markstrom.
I'm not sure, my friend, but boy, tonight he has not looked like the caliber of player that he has been in years past. And unfortunately, that's been a big theme throughout the year. And we can continue to speculate about if he will be able to turn things around, because we just got an icing right there against the Wild. So we will have a face-off in the Wild end, and we'll see if the Flames can get some ozone time to get this game tied.
Yeah, I don't mean to sit and pick on it in a point of principality here, but in a game like this, we talked about at the beginning, it's going to be 1-0 or 2-1. It's going to be one of these type of games. You just can't afford to make plays like that.
Yeah, and you called it, my friend. You said from the outset this was going to be the type of game, and I think both teams probably knew that this was going to be the type of game that we were going to expect tonight. And it's 1-0 here, and we're almost at the end of the second. The Flames really don't have anything to show for themselves, as they haven't had a ton of top opportunities. So 18 shots to 17. Minnesota leads by 1 in that category. They also lead by 1 on the scoreboard, as we've noted. And the Flames are battling for the puck now in their own end, the half boards on the near side. And it's going to be taken out by Toffoli. Toffoli has had a bit of a quiet game. Dillon Dube, he threw a check in the first period. Other than that, not a lot of contribution on his side either. Now Toffoli with the puck. He will get dispossessed right there nicely by Goligoski. And here comes Minnesota the other way. Flames are going to hope for a change, but right now Boldy has it, or Boldy, excuse me, and he will send this in from the blue line. And Markstrom's going to backhand this one to no one. The puck is loose on the left side of the crease. Boy, that was Markstrom's biggest gap of the night, John, and that could have resulted in disaster. And Sutter cannot believe it, nor can I.
I think Sutter's muttering to himself just like I was. So Markstrom, as this puck gets hit the dump in, he takes off immediately out of his net. He goes in behind the trapezoid, and he just throws it right back to Joel Eriksson Ek for some reason, as it was near the left side of the red line. Wow.
Boy, big credit to the skaters on that line right there. That's Lewis
Yes.
who gets down to the near post. Hanifin seals things off, and Chris Tanev. I mean, Chris Tanev is always in the right spot, almost always. Boy, that was wildly dangerous. And I hate to say it, but I have to go this way. Looks like Markstrom is doing his best Jonathan Huberdeau impression right there with a blind backhanded pass. So with 1:45 to go here in the second, the Wild have it. It's John Klingberg. He'll try to skeep this one out of his own end. He's unable to do so as Mikael Backlund makes another good play right there. Gosh, he has been so consistent for the Flames this year, and that is what they have lacked across the board. Players just playing at a relatively high level consistently. Now Backlund has it again. He's going to skate it in. Tries to backhand this one across for a deflection attempt. That was Blake Coleman that went down right in front of Gustafsson. Now a 3-on-2 for the Wild. They have it down low. And Noah Hanifin is able to get in the passing lane and clear that one away momentarily, but it's not out of the zone. 1:09 on the clock. Now the puck bouncing down low to Markstrom. He's able to poke check it away to his left. And then a terrible centering pass.
Goodness.
That was Backlund with a very bad move right there. Could have resulted in a big, big opportunity for the Wild. And now a turnover at center ice. Here comes the slapper, and Markstrom pretty calmly snags that one out of the air. That was Kaprizov with a shot. And it will be a welcome face-off for the Flames.
I'm sorry, Cooper. I didn't mean to step on your toes if you heard me there, but that was just an awful back pass. And they're lucky that Kirill Kaprizov on the other end just elected to shoot a slapper when he probably could have skated right in.
Yeah, he had some room to work coming in from the near boards. And, John, you see one of those back passes like that kind of blindly to a dangerous area maybe once a game. We've seen 3 by the Flames, including one by the goaltender in the last 3 or 4 minutes or so. So 40 seconds to go here in the second. And the Flames do have it in the offensive zone here. There's a pass across to Anderson, but it's through his legs. It'll be taken over by Kaprizov with that slap shot attempt just a few seconds ago. The Minnesota Wild do now have 20 shots of the night, and sort of rare for the Flames. They are under 20 at just 17 for the evening. Good stick lift right there by Nazem Kadri. He's looked pretty solid tonight. And the Flames have 16 seconds with which to work here in this middle stanza. Let's see if they try to mount one more offensive attempt here. Kadri will get the puck right back, and now he'll get a pass from the red line, and he snaps one on Gustafsson. Thought he held that one, but he turned it to his right, and there's a slapper that is caught, and that will end the second period, John. So the Flames aren't able to mount much of an offensive push, and this game remains 1-0 with Minnesota in control.
Yes, it does. And for Philip Gustafsson, it's another one of these situations where we talk about it for the Flames. He's had a relatively easy night, with the exception of Mikael Backlund, who, again, he's been the hardest working Flame. You'd like to throw that out there, and I agree with you. He always seems to be able to make the right play. And in between, Peltier a couple of times. I mean, those are the guys that I've noticed in the positive right for the Flames. But unfortunately, it's the same old story as far as who we could throw on the negative side. I'll pass for that for now because we still got another 20 minutes and the names might get mentioned again.
Yeah, what we're normally doing, John, is what we were just talking about. We're normally picking out players who are making big plays or are doing something exciting, moving their feet a little faster than their opponent or making a big save. What's not happening when we're doing that is we're not mentioning literally every other player. And there's too long of a list of those guys for the Flames right now. And that includes players like, at least tonight, players like Tyler Toffoli. He hasn't really been that noticeable to me. Elias Lindholm basically hasn't done anything noteworthy. I'm not expecting 4 or 5 points out of each of these individual players. I'm not expecting, massive checks on every shift or, spinorama moves to get themselves open for a grade A shot attempt. But it just seems like some of the players that you'd think might be stepping up for Calgary, it seems like they kind of are on the sidelines right now.
Yeah, it is, and maybe it's more indicative too. And again, we're not picking on anybody in particular, but this is exactly what Minnesota has been able to do over their recent stretch of games. I mean, last when I covered them a couple of weeks ago, they were losing 7 out of 10, and now they're up 7 out of 10. They're just suffocating the life out of teams, and they're winning games 1-0, 2-1. I kept saying that it's not sustainable at some point. I think Minnesota would, have some problems because their offense just isn't clicking. But maybe that's exactly what Dean Evason has identified. And when we talk about Calgary all year, didn't we talk about identity, especially from the beginning of it, trying to find some things? Calgary doesn't seem to have found that, but maybe this is what Minnesota is.
Yeah, maybe so. And John, I know there's some points you want to get to. Let me ask you one thing that's been on my mind since we jumped on the broadcast.
Yeah.
This is a question that was posed on Twitter. It was really just through a series of comments that a conversation took this theme, and that is, and it's you could argue that it's edging towards sort of a conspiracy theory, but it's about Brad Treliving, the GM of the Calgary Flames. Basically, my question to you, my friend, is this. The moves that were made yesterday by the Flames were, let's be honest, not particularly remarkable, right? So you trade a Richie brother for a Richie brother, all right, with some depth forwards, essentially. And then, you bring Troy Stetcher in. And look, I do like what I've seen from him tonight, but still, he's going to play limited minutes. He's a third-pairing defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
And the players out for the Flames are not ones that are particularly notable, and we wish them the best. We'll see what happens as the calendar moves forward. But are those the kinds of moves and the restriction of those moves? Do you think that indicates that perhaps Brad Treliving is a lame duck general manager and he was not allowed to make any moves that were more noteworthy? That the ownership may know that he's already on his way out, that he and Darryl Sutter, which is another half of this discussion, but we'll just stick with Brad Treliving for now. Do you think that there is anything indicated by the type of moves the Flames made, which, again, we're talking depth guys? Does that indicate to you an executive who may be on his way out and was not allowed to take a big swing for the fences? Or is does it just happen to be what Brad Treliving chose to do this time around?
I'm going to go with option B because we've talked about Calgary a lot in the terms of Jonathan Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar, your deals, Cole Schwinn, the first-round pick. When you do that, and then you have Milan Lucic at the $5.5 million cap hit this year, and you got some other pieces that will be coming off the books next year. Mikael Backlund the following year after that at the 5, Elias Lindholm for a while. What else is he going to be able to do? Those splashy moves from the Tkachuk deal on that side that had to be made, those are the moves that are made as far as your cap and everything else is set. So, hey, if you want to go ahead and bring in somebody like Brock Besser, no, he wasn't moved, and we talked about that. You're also going to have to retain some more money. That's going to put things further down the avenue. I'm not going to put Calgary in a situation where they're going to get handcuffed. I'm going to keep them in a situation, well, if they happen to miss the playoffs this year, it's understandable. Come back next year and do the same other things because you still got good other defensive core pieces. So I think that's more conspiracy theory than anything. Hell, we talked about it in the sense of Sutter and Treliving. Maybe they do have some job security concerns because it's win right now for Calgary. But when you bring in Nazem Kadri as well, he's signifying to me that he wants to win and we're going for it.
You know what? This is what I knew I'd get from you, John. Perfect perspective. I was leaning that way as well. I'm no conspiracy theorist by any stretch of the imagination, but that conversation did catch my eye on social media, and I thought to myself, is there a grain of truth there? You know what? I do agree with you on this one. I don't think that there's a whole lot of credence to that, and I think that Brad Treliving is thinking about the dollars, just like you said, and potentially if we're looking beyond this season, which boy, it continues to hang in the balance for the Calgary Flames, then he's also thinking about next year and perhaps even beyond. And, with these long-term contracts, what pieces can we put around these players to give them the best chance to succeed? I think you nailed it.
Yeah, the way Calgary's set up for next year, it's actually significant dollar amounts. They'd have to put on cap friendly and everything else going across to get through it. Again, we could have a long form of discussion when we get our own shows and stuff when the season's all done or whenever we want to do it. But there's a lot for Calgary still to do going into next year as far as dollars and cents of significance. So don't try to go for something right now and strain yourself for the following years. It makes no sense.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and thank you for humoring me there. I just wanted to get your expert take on where things stand with these Flames, but I know we have plenty more to talk about as well, so we can open the floor. And what's on your mind tonight, my friend? Do you have any hot topics for us to jump into?
I got a couple things that I want to throw out, and I think we'll have enough time just to do so. As I'm looking at the NHL scoreboard, and one that I kind of glossed over, I did it for a reason. Buffalo Sabres got a 5-3 win over the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay is 3-4-3 in their recent last 10 games. There was some controversy coming to this game, and this is directly from Gabby Shirley that covers the team, other media presence in the locker room. This is John Cooper on sitting Steven Stamkos, Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov for the entire third period. These are his two quotes. You got to put your team in the best position to win. 99% of the time, these guys have done that when they've been on the ice. We felt in the third period they weren't trying to give us the best chance to win. And again, on sitting the three players, we have a set of standards here that everybody adheres to. I don't just pick and choose it. It's everybody. Those guys are an extremely important part of this team, but for 20 minutes, I thought the other guys could get it done, and they almost did. What'd you think about that from John Cooper?
You know what? That's a call-out that you don't see that often anymore when it comes – I mean, we're talking about – I would be surprised if that were one of those players.
Yeah.
But to have it be all of them, that is, I think, a really shrewd move because, first of all, you're not just singling out an individual, right? Sometimes you can lose not just that player a little bit. And listen, they're professionals. They know they're going to take criticism, of course, from the media, fans. It's going to be online. And you know, they have a standard that is set by their head coach and the staff that they have to follow. But sometimes when you single out just that individual man, you can lose them a little bit mentally, and also it can be a disappointment for the rest of the room and a bit of a question mark, thinking, okay, if I'm not at 100% in any given game, am I going to get the same kind of treatment? But I think what happens when you make it a group like that, John, you can tell me what you think about this. I think that you are spreading the accountability a little bit while still getting the same results as a coach. You want to light a fire under somebody? Sometimes, you know what, positive reinforcement's great. When we do things well and to feel confirmation about that and to be celebrated, that's all well and good. But sometimes you got to give other players opportunities if you're not getting what you need from the heavy hitters, those top end guys, and they know they have an extra gear, as does their coach, and they're being called out and being not just asked but required to get back to that spot.
Absolutely. And John Cooper, he had some other things to say because he was pressed on it. He goes, look, we know what these guys have brought to the multiple Stanley Cup finals, the body, the toll, and everything else. But you know that, Cooper, that's exactly what it is. You don't single out one player. You throw that entire line. You didn't even give them a shift for 20 minutes. But you know, it's a standard of excellence. And we know what that standard of excellence is. We've seen it from the Tampa Bay Lightning. No, you don't always lift Lord Stanley. But when you battle for that Eastern Conference and you make it to 3 straight finals, it takes everybody in that locker room, and that's how you have to get it done. I think he's a master tactician, John Cooper.
Yeah, again, and you nailed it as well. I'm glad that you brought that up, and you know, sure, we have players who are mentioned by name by coaches in an effort to get more out of them. But what John Cooper has just done, I think, is really smart. It not only makes those players accountable to their coach in a greater way, but it makes them accountable to each other. And I think he knows that. It's not about players having to answer to the coaching staff all the time, which that's the nature of their job. They have coaches that they have to respond to and respect. I don't think that's an issue. I think he wants that line and all of these players on his team to hold each other accountable and know that each one, it doesn't matter, first line, fourth line, top defenseman, sixth, seventh, eighth defenseman, each one of them can rely on each other in any situation at any time, and they are expecting to win.
Yeah. I want to mention one thing about trades, and then I'll get into the comment, and I want to get Cooper's thoughts on this because it was just very curious on the ESPN end. So first for the Red Wings, they made some more moves, and this time this was right at the deadline. They traded Oscar Sundqvist to the Minnesota Wild today, but again, with the travel constraints, he wasn't able to play in the game. That was for a 4th-round pick. And Jacob Vrana, all the stuff in the Players Assistance Program, his time in Detroit is done. 50% salary retention, so Detroit's going to owe about $3 million instead of the $7.5 million for the next part of the cap hit. So that saves about $4.5 million for Steve Yzerman to use. It was just a 7th-round pick and a prospect as Jacob Vrana goes to St. Louis. Hey, look, I never said that Steve Yzerman was infallible. The Nedeljkovic thing didn't work out. The Ben Chiarot stuff was curious that I talked about. Now Vrana. Everything else with Wallman, all those other trades before from Nick Leddy, they've all been slam dunks. Not everybody can get it right. We talked about Kucherov and Vasilevsky and everything else that Steve Yzerman's done. Sometimes you take chances. Somebody like Jacob Vrana, we know he's got incredible speed. He can score. All the other stuff that was going on with the shoulder injury, that's what left to some of the Players Assistance Program, and I won't pry any more into that. When Steve was asked about it, he said, I wish I could talk about it, but out of respect to that, he's dealing with some things, and we can just hope he can get back to playing some hockey. And Steve also mentioned this before I switch topics, the series against Ottawa, in which we talked about when we lost back-to-back. As hard as it is to make moves in the locker room, it certainly put us in that direction to know that we're still going to go along with the game plan, Steve said, and we're not going to force something that we know that's not there. We're going to continue to build and get this thing done right.
Yeah, and John, I want to give you my thoughts, but basically because of your level of expertise and where your passions lie as a fan, I don't mean to put you back on the spot, but I'm just personally curious, just as a hockey fan, I'm curious what you think about, I will put it in this context. I was a little bit, my eyebrows raised because of the names of the players that exited the Red Wings room. I don't think that means that there are holes in the team that need to be filled now. I think it creates opportunities for Yzerman to bring other players in, whether, obviously now with the deadline pass, it would be in the offseason or into next year.
Yes.
But I'm going to stop right there because you're the one in Michigan, my friend. So what do you think? Were you disappointed? Did you have any questions, or are you still feeling fully faithful in Stevie Y?
I'm feeling fully faithful. I think when you go into it, you're going to still need to add a second line, a third line type player. You have 3 defensive spots now open because with Ben Chiarot, Wallman, and Sider, those are your first 3 D-men, correct? So that's all set. This could bring up an opportunity for Simon Edvinsson to come up. You have goaltending and Sebastian Coe, so that's also there. But I think for the Red Wings to want to get to where they want to get to, they signed their captain for 8 years and got that done. But if the Red Wings want to lift Lord Stanley, I think they're going to need someone even better than Dylan Larkin on this team.
Yeah, you know what? That's probably not the easiest observation to make because we've seen the magic that is in his hands and stick and skates. I mean, the skill level is there. But you're right. There's probably a need for someone that, if nothing else, at minimum at his caliber, right? To add another piece. You can't just have the one weapon. You have to diversify and bring in some breadth as well. So all those points well taken. And, because of our work together, my eyes are certainly on the Red Wings as well. And I was interested to get your thoughts, and I think that having some faith and having some patience, it's harder to come by these days. Everyone wants results now. And I think that Steve Yzerman has a plan, and it's tough to let certain players go, and they've been contributors for your team. But ultimately, you have to make the hard decisions to put yourself in a really strong position in the future.
Yeah, and if we had more time, I'd break that down in depth, but we just don't have it at this point because I want to get to this. ESPN made a comment, and look, I don't normally always watch like Get Up or First Take or shows like that because we know what they are. They're talking heads. But ESPN is a situation where they're the worldwide leader in sports, correct? That's their moniker, that's their tag, and now they've signed up with the NHL with Gary Bettman alongside TNT. So on one of those shows, it was Stephen A. Smith and it was Michael Kay at the desk, and they asked the question, which one of these New York teams can win a championship first? And Michael Kay was on there, and he said the New York Rangers. And Stephen A. Smith and Molly Kieran, they look back and go, hockey? What are you talking about? Nobody cares about hockey. And this was on the national stage on First Take on the first ESPN channel right in the morning.
Yeah, and I actually have seen the clip multiple times, in part because I couldn't believe it was actually happening. I mean, ESPN is not what it used to be. It certainly is not what it was 20 years ago. It's not what it was even 10 years ago. But they are still, and I know it's their own label, but they are the worldwide leader in sports. And in fact, we are both, well, at least I am. I'm on the ESPN Plus feed getting Sportsnet to watch this hockey game. So I find it really disheartening that would be a position taken by their studio hosts and one of their biggest personalities, Stephen A. Smith. And here's why it bothers me even more, John. Not just because I personally care about hockey, the NHL, and the leagues below it, and the game in general. And I know we both agree on that, or else we wouldn't be doing this right now.
Mm-hmm.
But as we get close to our third intermission, or our third period, I just want to say that is, I consider it mistreatment of their guest. That is a guest on a show who has been asked a question and gives a genuine answer. And I've had the fortune of, in my line of work, I work in the entertainment business here in Los Angeles, and have been able to interview directors, filmmakers, writers, actors. If I were to ask an open question, it could be as simple, what's your favorite film, or what films influenced the work that you did? And they say something that I don't think is valid. Back to the Future was my favorite. And if I were to respond to them, that doesn't really count. That's not an art film from France in the 1960s. That's not that's not an independent film that blah, blah. I know it's different. We're talking about art and sports, but maybe I'm off base, John, but I just think that is a horrendous way to respond to your guest, who has basically a completely legitimate argument to boot. The Rangers are they have loaded up and are well on their way to making a run in the Eastern Conference playoffs and potentially to the Stanley Cup final. It's just outlandish that happened. I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either, because when you think about it, it's Michael Kay. He works on the Yes Network. He's got his own radio show and does play-by-play for the New York Yankees. You don't think he knows what he's talking about?
Absolutely wild. It's disrespect for his level of expertise, for his specific response. It's disrespectful to the Rangers. It's disrespectful to ESPN's own network, which has games that we are literally watching right now that are watched by thousands and thousands and thousands of people and who care about hockey. SportsCenter covers NHL highlights. To deny him outright like that and almost laugh it off is something I can't remember seeing anything like it.
And I kind of wonder too, Gary Bettman, you sign the contracts and get the deals. We're getting close to puck drop here, but I wonder if he's batting an eye or if he's still worried about Mullet Arena in Arizona. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, he has a lot to handle. And speaking of things to handle, John, how you feeling, my friend? Do you want to jump back in for this play-by-play?
Finish it off, man.
Okay, well, I'll do that at your request, my friend. We have the puck dropped here in the third period. We are just underway here at the Saddle Dome for our final 20 minutes of regulation. Mikael Backlund was able to win that center ice draw. And there's a body flying right there in the Minnesota end as the Flames have the puck in the trapezoid behind Gustafsson, but the puck is lost by Backlund and will be picked up right there by Hartman. Now it's skated forward. Spurgeon looks to forecheck right here, but he's going to swing back around. And the Flames have it on the freshly Zamboni'd ice right there on the stick of Mangiapane. It's knocked to the neutral zone, and now it's loose, picked up right there. There's Kaprizov, tries to drop off for, I believe, Zuccarello, and Zuccarello will hold right there, tried to find a teammate at the point. Now Mangiapane has the puck. He's going to chip and chase, as John likes to say. Mangiapane gets his stick up in the face of Eriksson Ek, but no call. That was a close one right there, John. Now here comes Minnesota left to right the other way in this third period. There's a pass that's going to be deflected by Lindholm, but the puck's down low. Now Lindholm's upended. He goes down to his backside, able to get back up to his knees, and eventually he skates. Here comes Dillon Dube. He's on the far wall, being guarded right there by Beligoski, and now the puck's down low toward Lindholm one more time. Lindholm will get a bouncing puck back in the near corner. Now there's a deflection right there. That one goes off of someone in front of Gustafsson and bounces all the way back down with the puck rolling on edge. That one's going to go to Markstrom. He makes a smarter play this time. Looks around him before the backhand pass. And there's a stretch pass that goes all the way through the neutral zone. Boy, John, several players have gone down here just in the first minute or so of this third period. And speaking After 2 periods, the Flames are 0-14-3 when they are trailing. Yikes. So they're going to have to turn that around right now, but the math is not in their favor, nor is the scoreboard. It is 1-0 Minnesota, and it's been that way since the first. Now, Nazem Kadri right there, he's going to keep a check on Klingberg, but Klingberg's able to hold the puck and eventually get this one out to neutral ice. And there's a check right there by Zadorov. He dumped Sam Steele. Sam Steele went down like a sack of rocks right there. That's what Big 16 and Black can do pretty regularly. Look out for Nikita Zadorov. He seems like he's on a mission right now, and he avoids a check on the other end in his side of the ice. And the Flames will try to sauce this one out past the flames of the Flaming Sea, and they cannot do so. There's a shot attempt right there by Foligno that goes off of Noah Hanifin's stick blade up into the netting. And John, with 17:37 here in the third, we'll have a face-off.
There was a couple good blocks there by the Flames in the middle of the slot as they were trying to get a couple stick lift battles. Boldy was in front trying to set something. And I actually saw a couple minutes in your play-by-play. 2 of the Flames collided with each other before they attempted to make a change. My goodness.
Wow, thanks for pointing that out. It actually escaped me, so thank you for adding that. I hope everyone's okay. But yeah, for whatever reason, there were several bodies just collapsing to the ice here, but everyone's been able to pop back up. There's another one, John. Noah Hanifin blows a tire, and he takes out one of the defensemen. I think that might have been Spurgeon for the Wild. So that's 6 or 7 players individually who've gone down here just in the first 2.5 minutes or so of this third. Now, a bouncing puck in neutral ice is going to be taken by the Wild, but just momentarily as there's a battle near the players' benches. Lewis trying to jump off right there. Is he going to get called for too many men? The puck actually hit him in the skates, but it looks like we are going to continue to play here. Weegar has the shot attempt that goes off of the Wild captain's skate and up, I should say, shin pad and up into the netting. So another face-off momentarily.
So in this recent stretch, out of the last 10, we'll say, it was a 1.4 goals against for Minnesota and a 1.1 goals against. So 1.44, 1.1 against. We might already be at our number with 16:58 in the third.
Boy, it certainly seems that way. At least there's a good chunk of time here in this third period, but the Flames don't have much to show for it when it comes to offensive opportunities. And they have got to change the narrative here if they want to get this game tied at a minimum. So a moment ago, Markstrom was able to glove down a puck and play it on his forehand with the big paddle, but the puck is still in the Flames' end of the ice. And there's a check right there. Oh, someone got dumped for the Flames. Now the puck is in the high slot. I think that check was by Dumba, and I didn't see who he took out. There's a sauce pass attempt by the Flames. They seem to be trying to float these through the neutral zone. The Minnesota Wild are doing a good job of knocking down those hip-high passes. So about 4 minutes have gone here in the third period. 21 shots to 19, Minnesota in the lead. And they still, of course, hold 1-0 on the scoreboard. And it looks like just offside are the Calgary Flames. So another whistle and another face-off.
This will be a shot that I'll throw out there. Now I understand why Minnesota only averages about 2 goals. You got Kirill Kaprizov in the middle of the circles. And instead of him shooting it, he elects to pass back with a one-on-one against Markstrom.
Yeah, John, these questions are coming up now for both teams about aggression and decision-making when there are opportunities to shoot. I mean, obviously these players know better than us, and we have to trust their decision-making. But sometimes in the moment, you'd think that just putting the puck on net might be the right way to go. But right now, another body goes down. It's Chris Tanev. Looks like he got tripped up, but no call. And there's Klingberg who pitches in from the near point, and a nice pad save by Markstrom. His first big save of this third period. And you could count the one that went off his mask earlier, but that was more of a deflection. I'm not sure he even fully saw that. He certainly saw that shot by Klingberg, and the Flames are glad that he did. Now, when Minnesota Wild go for a backhand wraparound attempt right there, now Stetcher's going to have this one great angle pass through some traffic. It's picked up by Dube. Now I think Tyler Toffoli is there. He's going to sidestep a check and from the center red line chip this one down low. Nazem Kadri now out on the ice for the Flames. He's on the forecheck with Huberdeau. Minnesota Wild going to get there's a slam right there. Mackenzie Weegar having a fantastic game. I think he smacked Steele, but Steele was able to pop right back up. He tries to retaliate against Rasmus Andersson, who spins away from a check. But man, oh man, Mackenzie Weegar has been all over the Wild tonight. Boy, if every Calgary player were playing the way he is, I think we'd have a different score right now. So here's Freddie Gaudreau. Gets a centering pass right there that's shot right on by Foligno. Turned aside, and Markstrom did what he couldn't do against Marner the other night. He closed that 5-hole up. So under 15 minutes to go here in the third. Minnesota, this is what happens to the Flames so regularly, John. It's something we're going to have to talk about when we have time. It looks like Minnesota taking the run of play here in this third period. The Flames not able to generate as many clean chances as their opponents. So, Minnesota Wild, who are playing against a team that has one win in their last 6 home games. Look out. The Wild looking strong here in the third period. Markstrom has the puck on his stick, sends it to the far corner. Flames doing a good job right here of attempting to get it out, but the Wild do a better job of holding it in. Markstrom has to play it yet again behind his net. It's going to be held right there. The Flames are going to set up, cycle a bit in their own zone. They hold for about 5 seconds and eventually gently pass this one out to neutral ice. Now here comes Milan Lucic. Doesn't have enough speed to pick up the pass attempt. Now it's a one-on-one the other side. Stetcher does a good job right there. And Markstrom passes across his own open goal mouth, John. What the heck is going on? This has been a wild one in terms of decision-making, and I'm so glad we got a stoppage as the puck goes out of play. I'm not sure I can even explain what I'm seeing right now, John. Help me out.
I think these two teams need some caffeine as they go to a commercial break right now. I know some of these Swedish players like to say that they drink coffee. You need to bring some of that in the locker room, but as you said, with Mackenzie Weegar on Sam Steele, he's been another one of those guys, and I can say his name in a positive light, especially with the last few games. That was some good body contact. He's made the right plays. He's got the puck out quickly. But the rest of these teams, I don't even know what I'm seeing right now. I can't even make sense of it.
Yeah, and you know what? Just to take the bird's eye view on Mackenzie Weegar, he's what I think a lot of Calgary Flames fans were hoping. He represents, I should say, what a lot of the fans were hoping to see out of the new acquisitions. And by new acquisitions, I don't mean Stetcher and Nick Ritchie. I mean the big names that came over in the offseason. Little by little, Weegar has gotten better. And John, I've essentially forced you to watch a ton of Flames hockey. Again, as I always say, tell me if you think I'm off base on this one. But maybe it's recency bias. But not only has he looked really strong in the last, I would say, 5, 6, 7 games or so, but I think he's gone on the right trajectory and has looked good overall in terms of improvement this season.
Hey, and that's fine because regardless of what happens with Calgary, I know you are less best hope to get in the playoffs here because the Red Wings are probably out. But yeah, you want to see something toward the end of the year. Hey, if you don't get in, you play meaningful games, you get improvement, you bring that into the offseason. This is the best Mackenzie Weegar's looked since he's put on a Flames uniform.
Yeah, it's one of those times, and this happens, every few games or so, where you just can't stop saying a player's name because they are that noticeable.
Yes.
And fortunately, it's in a really, really good way. And then there have been times on the other side of things where Huberdeau is nearing this territory that he has been struggling this evening, and we'll see if maybe he can turn it around here in the third period. And now, John, I didn't see this. Looks like Lucic and Reeves are having a go at one another. So maybe we'll get a little fisticuffs before this night's done.
Yeah, I got a smile on my face. My 4 eyes perked up a little bit. I'd love to see it.
Yep, Lucic definitely having words with Big Ryan Reeves during the break there. And now that we are back in action, the Flames lose a neutral zone draw. And Chris Tanev will find the puck in the far corner. Now it's being chased down by the Flames. Good back pass right there by Blake Coleman. That was to Mikael Backlund, and the puck bounces right in front of Gustafsson. Not particularly dangerous, but he had to think twice for sure. And boy, they keep cutting back to Lucic, don't they, John? He looks ready to get into a clash.
Would I say that Sportsnet has done their homework, or they have an agenda tonight? Because now we look at Ryan Reeves chewing on the mouthpiece.
Yes, indeed. They are setting up for a bout for sure. We'll see if we get one. There are still 13 minutes and 31 seconds to go here in the third in this 1-0 hockey game with the Wild leading at the Saddle Dome. Cooper Hopkins on play-by-play and John Ott on the analysis. Here's a shot from Weegar that gets through. Boy, I cannot say it enough, John. Weegar definitely the standout for the Flames tonight, and his shot results in a rebound that is cleared and an icing. Number 52 in black. 2 thumbs up from me, and I think 2 thumbs up from my broadcast partner, too.
Absolutely. He's been the best player on the ice. I understand the goal of Marcus Johansson on the double deflection, but we've said Mackenzie Weegar's name about 7-8 times, and it's deserved.
Yes, it is, and there's a face-off that is won by the Minnesota Wild, so a good D-zone. Oh, and Weegar comes in with a and now he's drawing the ire of some of the Wild. That was Eriksson Ek trying to retaliate. But Uyghur with another body check on Matt Boldy, if I'm not mistaken. And my goodness, it feels like I say his name every 30 seconds, but it's with good reason. Now, there's a turnover, unfortunately. I'm going to say his name again. That's by Uyghur. A wraparound attempt by Eriksson Ek is on net. Now sticks dropped by Uyghur, but the gloves stay on. He and Eriksson Ek really going at it, John. We are on the cusp of seeing some real physicality. And
just like the other day, I saw a hand in the air for someone who thought they scored off the wraparound opportunity. There was a chance for Eriksson Ek, but Uyghur just punched him right in the face, and then we had a couple of stick battles.
Yes, we did, and lost in that with the excitement of the clash between Eriksson Ek and Uyghur is the fact that, boy, Markstrom's still just solid as a rock there in net. I mean, he made that wraparound attempt look boring. He was just there on the left post and kept the pad tight and covered up the loose puck.
Here's another one for Backlund here, trying to win a defensive zone draw.
Yes, indeed. The Flames need this win, and they will get it. So good job by number 11, the Swedish centerman, Mikael Backlund. He got it to Chris Tanev, and then the Flames promptly turn it over. But then another turnover. Tanev stepped into a passing lane. Now Backlund tries to flick it forward, able to do so. Now Hanifin has it. He's moving those skates, chips it along from the near boards to the trapezoid, and we're going to have a penalty coming up against Calgary. It's going to be against Andrew Mangiapane, who gets his stick into one of the Wild skates. I couldn't see who drew the penalty, John, but either way, the Flames are going to be down.
Yeah, it was a pretty blatant penalty, pretty easy call there as Mangiapane just upends Matt Zuccarello right in front of the Zebras, and another stoic look from Darryl Sutter.
Yeah, Darryl Sutter, his facial expression is pretty consistent, but this time it's justified. He looks disappointed, I'll put it lightly. And boy, Mangiapane, you don't see this too often. He had a little grimace on his face right there as well. I think he's disappointed in that bad luck. I don't think there was much intent, John, to take Zuccarello off of his skates, but that is what happened.
We'll see what happens with Minnesota on their puck possession. It looked okay in their first power play, but if Kirill Kaprizov gets an opportunity, he's got to shoot this time.
That's right. The Wild come into this game at over 25% on the power play. There's a wrister right there. That 25%, I should say, is good for 5th in the league. So they are not to be trifled with when they have the man advantage. So about 20 seconds have elapsed here in the power play, and a pass back to the blue line bounces free and will head all the way back to Kirill Kaprizov and Gustafsson at the left end of the ice. So Zuccarello's going to skate this one forward. Trevor Lewis tries to close down. The Wild have it on their sticks. Flames are battling at the far half boards. It's going to be taken in the high slot and skated out right there by none other than number 52, Mackenzie Uyghur, who sends this one toward the rafters, and the puck bounces towards Gustafsson. He will pick it up there and leave for a teammate, and now the Wild will come back the other way. The Flames do have numbers back. Zuccarello at the half boards on the near side. Sends it to Klingberg, the new Minnesota Wild, coming over from the Anaheim Ducks. 1 minute and 5 seconds to go here. Nice sauce pass back to Zuccarello. Now they go to Klingberg. They go 1, 2, 3. Now the puck's in the far circle. Going to be turned back around. Klingberg will pick up a deflected pass. He tries to backhand it. This one is still inside the Flame zone, and then eventually backhand saucered all the way out. And with 1 minute and 15 seconds gone in the power play for Minnesota, 25 shots for the Wild, 21 for Calgary, and Calgary doing their best to just clear this thing right here and kill the penalty. And the clear attempt by Toffoli is off of the skate and actually bounces all the way around the end boards. And now a breakaway for Toffoli! He shoots and is stopped at point-blank range. That came out of nowhere. Toffoli had just happened to be in the right spot at the right time, and now Gaudreau fires and is stopped on a slapper, and there's contact after the save is made, and players come together.
Holy cow, Tyler Toffoli, that did just materialize out of nowhere, and he must have just been waiting in a spot because that long clear, he's got the mano-a-mano against Gustafsson. He just elects to shoot. Was that Uyghur with the long flip as he gloves it down to Toffoli in a beautiful sequence, and it goes off the right pad of Gustafsson, and then the other way, a chance for Freddie Gaudreau had knocked Markstrom in off his stomach.
Oh, my goodness. I know that Toffoli wants that one. That by a mile, that was the Flames' most dangerous chance of the night. And it looks like, unfortunately, it was Tanev who got tangled up as he was trying to check his man. I think he collided with Markstrom. But Markstrom is A-okay. He's back up in his crease, and this faceoff is one in the O-zone by the Wild, and another deflected shot down low gets to Markstrom, and he turns it aside yet again. Jacob Markstrom is maybe, I said this against the Leafs, John, this now I think is his best performance of the year. So it happens to be 1-0 with the Wild in the lead, and there's Elias Lindholm with a turnaround slapper attempt. He's talking to his fellow Swede Mikael Backlund about their shorthanded opportunity they created a moment ago, but that shot was up and out of play. So a second left, John, on the power play for the Wild, and the Flames look like they're going to get out of this one.
We know what happened with Mitchell Marner the other day when he scored on a 5-hole goal against Markstrom, but that was another opportunity off a deflection 5-hole, and Markstrom saw that all the way and closed it quickly.
Yes, indeed. You were talking about blocked shots earlier as the puck is dropped to Gustafsson's left. It's 1. The faceoff is by the Wild, but we are now back to even strength. 15 blocked shots for the Wild tonight, 11 for the Flames. There's a turnover in the Flames' end, and a pass attempt near the crease goes behind Sam Steele. That could have been 2-0 for sure if that was on the tape. And there's a pass by Mangiapane, sort of a blind backhand pass. More players go down. This has been happening all period long. A centering attempt as Zadorov is deflected away by a sprawling Matt Dumba, and he was able to poke check. Boy, that was a desperation attempt, and he just got that away from the stick blade of Nikita Zadorov. Again, once or twice a game, he likes to do his best impression of Johnny Gaudreau. He takes on that role of a forward, and he had a great opportunity right there to work for Dumba. Now Markstrom out of his net as the puck rattles around in the trapezoid behind him. 9:40 to go here in the third. Cooper Hopkins on the play-by-play with John Ott on the analysis, and Reeves stumbles at the blue line, somehow able to keep the puck in. It's picked up by Walker Duehr. Haven't said his name in a while, haven't got a lot of minutes for that fourth line tonight, but they're out there now. Now Zadorov tries to check Reeves at the near corner to Markstrom's left. They're tied up with one another. A little bit of holding right there, but it's going both ways. The referees are going to let this one go. The puck scoots all the way back down to the Minnesota end of the ice. No icing. It's backhanded away by Gustafsson. Klingberg has it there, checked by Duehr. Now the puck's going to go to number 26, Connor Duehr. And Hanifin's going to get it near the penalty boxes, gets it over to Lewis. Lewis fires one right on. I think he was just trying to dump in. He happened to get a shot right on goal. So inside 9 minutes to go now, John. The Flames have gone for a change, and the Wild have as well. Hanifin's still on the ice right now. Nice job turning it over, taking the puck away from Kaprizov. Cameras lost the puck there for a moment. I think you and I kept our eyes on it. We have 6 of them, so we should be able to. And Chris Tanev has the puck now, but play is whistled down. I think, John, maybe offside, but either way, a stoppage and a face-off coming up.
There you got a TV timeout. Well, they have 42 left in the third here, and it's yet another one-goal game. Mark that on the whiteboard.
Yeah, we have to. Let's put another notch somewhere on the whiteboard, on our belts. I'm not sure if it's a notch the Flames are going to want, though, because every time they're in this situation, well, I don't have to tell you, John, we know which way things go, huh?
We do, and the one thing I want to say now, in comparison to the game from the Toronto Maple Leafs the other day, which was yet another one of those, Markstrom wasn't able to get out of the crease till about 35 seconds left in that third period a couple days ago. If they're going to do this empty net pull, I'd probably be a little bit more aggressive here, Cooper. I'd maybe get this. Well, I know they tried to yesterday, but my point is this. Get this around the 2:30 mark. I'd say go for broke, because if you get it at maybe 1:30, let's say it's realistic, I don't think that's enough time. Calgary needs to be able to get some puck possession to get more chances, try to matriculate something, because, I mean, both these teams, there's been no offense, but we know that from Minnesota right now, but Calgary, they're still trying to find it.
Yeah, and I think likely if we were to just do the math, right, and of course, you know, we're not able to take into account all of the hypotheticals
Sure.
that can happen in a 2 or 2.5 minute period. But the reason why I'm, of course, agreeing with you is you can't limit yourself. I mean, basically what the Flames did 2 nights ago was they limited themselves to one shift. I mean, you're talking about even a partial shift.
Yes.
With I think it was about 38 or 40 seconds max. So if we're talking 2 or 2:30. Now we're looking at 3, potentially 4 shifts. So you can run anybody out there that you want. You could be double shifting the top 2 lines. You could mix up lines. You could go 4 forwards and a D-man, and you actually have some breathing room to make those choices as opposed to just one single shift with whoever you got out there.
I appreciate you being in lockstep with me, because that's what I wanted to have explained across, and you nailed it, because that's the whole point. You got to give yourself an opportunity.
Yes, we do, or they do, and we will have an opportunity to discover exactly what the Flames are going to do here, unless they can find a tying goal prior to that 2 or 2:30-minute mark that we were just talking about. They do have the puck in the offensive zone right now. Good job by Coleman to protect that puck. And there's a deflection from Hanifin to Backlund, and I think Gustafsson did get a piece of that one. A couple players are down in the trapezoid behind the Minnesota netminder, and now the Wild are going to come the other way. Spurgeon send this one in. Bounces around from right to left, going to be picked up by Zuccarello, and there's a one-time attempt right there that's gloved down by Tanev. Didn't close his hand on the puck right there, so it's free for Peltier to pick up. He's going to take a snapshot right there, and that one bounces away, and Coleman comes sliding through the slot. John, oh my goodness, there have been a couple times in this period that it looks like a puck is, or a play is pretty standard, and all of a sudden there's a scoring opportunity for Calgary. There was a puck down low in the ozone, and all of a sudden Blake Coleman's right there. Peltier had it down low, and now the Flames have it in the offensive zone again. 7:35 to go in the third. It's still a 1-0 game, thanks to the deflection goal by Johansson in the first. Good job by Rasmus Andersson checking his man right there in his D-zone. It's going to be held by Dumba at the blue line. Dumps it down low to the near corner. Mackenzie Weegar, we've talked about him a ton. He lets Boldy go, and Mackenzie Weegar is going to be near Eriksson Ek down in the crease. Boldy still has the puck. Flips it back around. Now Eriksson Ek picks it up. Trying to beat Weegar here, but Weegar checking his man nicely. Elias Lindholm down low checking as well. Minnesota holding. Now the puck loose in the high slot. Picked up by Dillon Dube. Good skating right there to take it away. Now Tyler Toffoli tries to chip the chase. Taken here now by the Minnesota Wild and Alex Goligoski. Going to be picked up near the players' benches. The puck's in neutral ice. The Flames will take over with Nikita Zadorov. Angled pass to the center. Kadri goes with a wrister, and it is right on into the... I was about to say the netting. It wasn't that high. It was right on Gustafsson on the logo on his sweater. Good save by number 32.
More of those from the Calgary Flames. Don't care if it's one-on-one or a rush or not. It was a shot in between the right circles. And Kadri with a nice little windmill drag against Dumba. It almost hit the goaltender right in the face mask.
Yes, it did. Peltier, prior to that, this is a player that we mentioned. He did a good job just driving the net. Driving the net right there, what we talked about, doing his best forward impression. Nikita Zadorov chewing on that mouth guard, and a bit of a frown right there. I think he had a little bit of an opening for a split second on the near side, and it was closed down by Gustafsson.
You know, I don't always see the point totals, and you don't get those from Nikita Zadorov, defenseman, all the time, but I like what he does. He'll press every once in a while. He'll throw the big body contact. He'll make the right plays. So I'm going to go ahead and do this again just in case we lost Cooper on that side. So about 6:20 left to go in this third as this is picked up now by Stetcher. Stetcher with an opportunity trying to get around Sam Steele. It gets centered back to him off a couple of passes. Bounces off the crossbar and it's in. Minnesota takes a gut-wrenching 2-0 lead for the Flames at this point. 6:11 left to go in this third, and it's Marcus Foligno, 2-0 Wild, and that may just do it at this point.
John, just checking. I hope I'm not having technical difficulties again at the worst time.
I got the goal call in there, so we're good. But unfortunately, we're not good for the Flames side of it because Markstrom has just conceded one.
Boy, that one goes over Zadorov's shoulder, off of the back bar, not the crossbar, but the back bar. That's Freddie Gaudreau, who doesn't get really, he got about 10% on the shot that he was trying to shoot. This is what has happened to the Flames all year long. This is unbelievable, John. Freddie Gaudreau's fluttering shot attempt goes about 8 feet, bounces off the back bar of the cage, comes back out in front, and I believe just trickles in off of Markstrom's back to make it 2-0 on the 27th shot of the night for the visiting Minnesota Wild. And boy, oh boy, this has been a season to forget when you're talking about one-goal contest for the Flames. I know it's not anymore. It's 2-0 now with 5:50 to go in the third. But this has just been a wild series of bounces. And this one is not bounced, but fired right on by the Wild. And Markstrom will glove it down. I'm still recovering after that goal. And I think I've seen Foligno scoring here. I'm not sure if he got a piece of it, John. But either way, what a crazy sequence.
That bounced off the back bar and back in play, and Marcus Foligno was just sitting on the right side of the crease trying to tap it in out of the air. I don't think I've ever seen the puck bounce off the back bar and back in play, back in front of the crease.
No, neither have I. I mean, it's just I'm not even frustrated. I mean, as you all know, and as anyone who follows our coverage, I'm a Flames fan. We talk about it. I don't feel angry right now. I am just confused. How can this happen to one team so often? It just seems like the Flames cannot get a bounce. Not for a period, not for a game, John, but really for an entire season. It's absolutely wild.
It is. I mean, we can talk about who needs to score and who does what in the department. We've done all that stuff. We've revisited all of that. You can have some things bounce against you, and that's happened in this game. But at the same time, what can you do on the other end to alleviate some of those things? Because it's impossible for any team. I don't care how good you are. I don't care if you're the Boston Bruins to play a full 60 minutes. But you've got to be able to create some things the other way when things don't go your way. That's the whole point, and that's been part of the problem in this season. In a game like this where it's 2 goals, I know we have time left on the score clock, but I question whether it's even going to turn the other direction.
Yeah, and rightfully. I mean, we were joking about this. I think it was during the second intermission or the second period. I mean, we were laughing about this, just like, forget the whiteboard, just get out a Sharpie and a piece of blank printer paper and write down all the things that you're going to see in a Calgary Flames game. And we just saw another one, just a bad bounce. You're going to get at least one when you're watching the Flames, and there it was right there. Unfortunately, it could be the death knell, not only in this game, but John, we said it. We were both pretty confident. You got to get 6 points in these 3 games, and it looks like it's going to be a maximum of 4 after tonight, unless the Flames completely change their fortunes in the next 5:35. So the puck is in the offensive zone for the Wild. Now a pass across is off of Markstrom's blocker, I believe, and he turned that one aside. That should be the 28th shot on the night for the Wild. And now Peltier was looking for a pass coming from the far boards, and it was just too far for him. He would have had some space to work with. But he finds the puck in the O-zone and gets it down low to Backlund. Now Backlund backhands in front. It's loose and goes just wide of the right post. And now Backlund fires. Someone blocked it in front, John. Players are down. I think that was Hartman. Yes, it was. Number 38, Ryan Hartman, with a block in front. Boy, he was completely sacrificing his body just on his knees, acting like a second goalie. And we have an icing. Man, John, the Flames have been close a few times here. We could go through all the hypotheticals, but it's still a 0 on the scoreboard.
That was terrific defense by Ryan Hartman, because Blake Coleman was on the doorstep 3 times. He's the one that got the hit on Spurgeon that started it all. And then it was Hartman right in front of the traffic getting a couple blocks in.
Yes, indeed. And I have to give credit to Gustafson there. He flicks out the right pad. He made that initial save right there on Coleman. Coleman did find a great soft spot just outside the blue paint. And he was unlucky not to score right there and cut this lead in half. But either way, still 2-0, and we are inside 5 minutes here with 4:40 to go in the third. And here come the Minnesota Wild. There's a pass across to Kaprizov. He's checked by Elias Lindholm. Now the puck is down near the blue line and goes out into the neutral zone. The Wild will touch up. They do not attempt to play the puck, so the delayed offside will not be called. Here comes Rasmus Andersson, Swedish defenseman for the Flames, wearing number 4, will chip in from center ice. It's picked up right there, and it's loose in front. A great centering attempt right there, I think, by Jonathan Huberdeau. And unfortunately for him, no one is there to receive it. Gustafson completely out of position. If any Flame were in the area, it would be 2-1. And there is a shot on by Eriksson Ek as he streaks in from the neutral zone. It's gloved relatively calmly by Markstrom, and we'll have a face-off. And Huberdeau gets the close-up on the Sportsnet feed. John, boy, he set up his team right there, but nobody was there to finish up the attempt.
Okay, so you got Gustafson on a 29 of 29, but when you go back behind the net to play the puck, you can't center it out between the circles.
Boy, that is just wild. We've seen so many interesting choices, I think is the right way to say it. And you may have corrected me there. I thought that Huberdeau had his stick on the puck and was looking for the centering attempt. That might have come out from Gustafson himself. And if so, what has been happening tonight with the goalie passing? It's just been wacky. That's the only word that comes to mind. But no matter what, it's still a 2-0 game here, and there's Johansson, and there's a shot on, still out in front. That rebound was left on the doorstep. Now sidestepping, Hanifin is Eriksson Ek. He backhands it, and he sends it to a teammate who roofs it over Markstrom. John, I think your goal scorer right there is that Matt Boldy. Boy, oh boy, it's 3-0, and this game is all but over, my friend.
Yeah, Matt Boldy. That is the kill shot. It's 3-0. Minnesota is going to get this win with 3:30. And I'll bet my life on it at this point, the way that it's been going. I'm not trying to be disparaging. That was an impossible save for Markstrom to be able to make. He's got 3 against him tonight, but I mean, when it goes off his pad, goes right out in front, no chance. Eriksson Ek able to get the bank. Matt Boldy, the beneficiary, is going to stand all by his lonesome, and it's a 3-0 marker.
Yeah, John, you saw what I did right there. I thought that was a really well-placed centering pass off the backhand by Eriksson Ek to Boldy. It actually was not. You observed that the pass, which was far too narrow, actually bounced off either the pad or the skate of Jacob Markstrom and happened to sit up and basically up on a tee right in the slot, and Boldy finishes it. And that finishes the night for many Flames fans. So you can see a lot of empty seats here, a very passionate fan base. And it's a bad sign in a game and in a season when the fans start to head for the exits. I mean, not super early. There's only 3 minutes to go here in the third as bodies are down in the near corner on the Minnesota side. But, understandably here in a 3-0 game with Minnesota just outplaying Calgary. And a ripped shot right there from the high slot that goes wide on Markstrom's glove side. Boy, oh boy. Yeah, if that third goal didn't do it for you, the Flames leaving the Wild wide open in the ozone, that would do it for me. I'd probably head home as well. But right now, the puck is held in the trapezoid in his own end of the ice by Jared Spurgeon. And he will look for a teammate. Nice forecheck right there by Mikael Backlund, who's still working hard. Peltier there as well. Flames looking maybe for a bit of a moral victory here, but I'm not sure if there is such a thing when you're down 3-0 and the season really is at this point starting to slip away for these Calgary Flames. Puck is chipped in by Minnesota Wild, not by Mason Shaw. And the Flames doing a good job of back-checking right there and just trying to hold in their own end. It is Mackenzie Weegar, who, despite all of the goal scoring by the Wild, Weegar has had a great game tonight. That puck, I believe, hit one of the referees, and it scoots through the slot, and Markstrom has to paddle it aside, and now a check behind Markstrom. Going down right there was Mason Shaw. I didn't see who the checker was, but the Flames having trouble now exiting their own zone. 1:43 to go here in the third. 31 shots and 3 goals for Minnesota. 29 shots and nothing on the board for the Calgary Flames. Rasmus Andersson holds the puck right now. We will wrap this game up in about 90 seconds. He looks to get out of his own zone and does so, but the puck bounces off of, I believe, Mangiapane's stick. Make that Lindholm, 28, not 88. Now the puck to Chris Tanev. He'll snap this one forward. It bounces off a body. And we have a stoppage. I believe the Flames were just offside with a minute and 17 seconds to go here, John.
Well, I'm going to save some of my other comments for our closing. But it's disappointing that when we just talked about some of these strategies, you didn't even get the opportunity to pull the goalie. And now you play the next 4 or the next 6 on the road.
Yeah, there's not much from the way the Flames have played over their past 7 or 10 games, and not much looking forward as they're going to be on the road for 2/3 of those next 6 contests. Yeah, there's not much there. There's not much there. The math does not work out. Nashville's win, Winnipeg's win. Their neighbors to the north could not help them out tonight, as we are now inside a minute to play here in this game. 50 seconds to go to be exact, and the Minnesota Wild will ice this puck, but even if the Flames are able to get a good shot off of an ozone dry and find the net, it would still be 3-1. So we're just getting the close-up shots now. The drama of it all, John, is literally, we see the camera pan to Jonathan Huberdeau shaking his head in what must only be confusion. Peltier as well, and I think you and I feel the same way.
When they say a picture says 1,000 words, that's acquiesced there by Sportsnet.
Yep, absolutely. So a nice ozone draw win right there. I almost spoke it into existence, my friend. There was a shot from the point that got all the way through the traffic and handcuffed Gustafsson. I'm not sure he saw that one cleanly. So that was a good shot right there. Now Zadorov has the puck. He'll snap one on. It's bouncing and will be held. Gustafsson hanging on to the shutout with 31.1 to go.
I guess the only thing left for us, and I will say this to be funny, but the only thing left for us right now is how about we get Ryan Reeves and Milan Lucic here in this last 30? I want something to smile about.
Yeah, you know what? Give these fans who've stayed here at the Saddle Dome, you know what? Let's just turn it in. There was a big UFC match tonight. John Jones returns to the ring. It's 0 gone. How about Ryan Reeves versus Milan Lucic at the Saddle Dome tonight? There's still 20 seconds, guys. You can make it happen. Anyway, 3-0 is the score. That looks to be the final, as we're just now 12 seconds away from that becoming official. Zadorov has the puck behind Markstrom, and the clock will expire. These Flames fans silent and still as Zadorov leaves it for Lucic, who flings the puck down the ice in disgust, and Darryl Sutter leaves the bench in a hurry. John, your final from Calgary, Alberta. Minnesota 3, the Flames 0, and we have to discuss with one another as we head into our post-game show here, so to speak. If 0 is the percentage chance the Flames have of making the playoffs at this point, Elias Lindholm shaking his head in confusion as well.
Well, I gave you full marks because I thought I kind of threw a hand grenade your way, having to take the last 2 periods, admittedly, on that side. I wanted you to get some goal calls, but unfortunately it went the other way. And you know what? You told me this from the very beginning, and I will throw this in part of our broadcast. When we mentioned the hellacious stretch, you said firsthand, then the Calgary Flames might lose 5 games in a row. Well, 0-4-1, that's pretty much the same way. And now you got Dallas and Minnesota when you needed to get a full 6 points. I'm going to say it right now. I know this is going to be bleak as far as everything. And you and I will still do some more games, and we'll figure out some assignments, and I'm sure we'll probably still cover more of the Flames. But at this point, I'm going to say it. I agree with you. I think it's over.
Yeah, it's tough to put it in terms that stark, but I don't think we'd be doing our jobs if we said it any other way. And as much as I love the team, nobody loves a homer, and there's no point in doing it either because I would just sound delusional. And you and I have seen enough and watched enough of the details, watched enough individual play. We've seen the struggles of Markstrom. We've seen the struggles of Huberdeau. I love that Markstrom has bounced back despite the 3-0 score. I mean, you can basically take 2 of those away, if not all 3. They were all bounces, double deflection, a bouncing, fluttering shot off of the back bar of the cage that floats forward back to the crease and is put in, and then a centering attempt that happens to go off of Markstrom's own skate that was in the right position and just sits up on a tee in the slot and is finished. Roofed, in fact, for goal number 3. So you can't put it on Markstrom tonight. You could potentially in the earlier portions of this season. But this is, John, on the flip side of what we've asked in every single broadcast we've done. What have we always said, right? We said tonight, who will be the one? Well, tonight there were no ones. There wasn't even one. It's 3-0. That is a shutout at home. And so that means when there are no ones who have gotten the job done, it's the entire team that must look at themselves and say, we aren't there. I understand belief. I understand confidence. I understand professionalism, saying, okay, this is my job. It's my job to go out and to do what John Cooper has asked his line to do. I'm going to compel myself to be the best I can be. But when everyone's best is this kind of result, John, that's my long-winded way of saying I agree with you. It is over for the Calgary Flames.
And again, we talked about this a little bit in the second intermission, and he brought that question. I thought that was a good one by you across the social media stuff. What did you expect Brad Treliving to do? When we saw him in the office, a few nights ago, chewing on that gum and having that stare, and then we saw that across the players' bench today, that says everything that we need to know. We try to reiterate this as far as our play-by-play and color, and I try to do my best in some of these situations. But let's just read the records out there right now because I got it in front of me. 15, 13, and 3 at home, and 12, 10, and 10 on the road. 10 overtime losses on the road in which you could have had points the other way. I understand doing enough at parts and points of the season where you got just 1 point, but I made this point before with the Oilers a couple of months ago, and they've turned it into wins. What if you just took 5 of those overtime losses and you moved those into the win column and got 5 extra points right now? You'd only be a point out of the wild card spot. But because you can't find a 2 when you need it, in this case, you don't get anything. At some point or later, it's going to bury you.
Yeah, and buried is the right word, I think, for the Flames this season. If not just because of their own play or lack thereof, because of the play around them. And by that, I mean the teams that are closest to them in the standings. And look, Winnipeg is not Vegas. Winnipeg is not Colorado. But Winnipeg is doing enough to win games, and they're playing tough teams with a lot of skill, and they're coming out with victories.
Yeah.
At Nashville with games in hand. They're not Dallas. They're not the Golden Knights. They're not even the LA Kings. But you know what? They're doing enough to step up to the plate when they absolutely have to. And for whatever reason, answers which we may not ever have, John, the Flames just haven't been able to do it. They haven't found, not even the next year, they haven't even found really a first year, especially at this time of year when you have to be able to propel yourself forward and be better than the teams competing against you. It's been disappointing. I appreciate you genuinely for hanging in there with me because I think up until tonight, there was still just a glimmer left for both of us to think that they might be able to make a move and sneak into a wild card spot. But this might be it, my friend. And so it's time for me to study up on some rosters so we can do some clean play-by-play covering other teams when we get together again.
No, we definitely will, and I've been glad to be able to take this ride with you, honestly, because it's it's really unrealistic that you would get 6 games in a row that would all matter and all be against teams that are all in that same spot. That's the way that the schedule fell right now. That's sometimes the way the cookie crumbles. And it's been an interesting ride. I wish there was more wins on the end of it, but I think we had to do this coverage. It would be a disservice if we didn't. But we'll figure that out. As far as next week, like I said, I'm completely off the grid with some other stuff. So we're going to have a little bit of a respite here before we'll get back into it. So I'll certainly be in the mix, and I'll talk with you sometime after next week, especially before my birthday upcoming, because I still got a couple more weeks before that. But we'll figure out where these teams are. We'll figure out what we want to do next, because it's not that long, Cooper. We're going to be in the mix of the Stanley Cup playoffs too. So we'll have to get a couple more regular season workouts.
Yes, sir. That sounds excellent. I'm looking forward to the playoffs already, and looking forward to. I mean, how many exciting races are there? How many close teams are there in the standings right now? And I know you'll be out of the picture for a bit, and we will come back in a week or so, or a little after, and we'll have lots more to talk about. Obviously, things will have shifted, so it's going to be really exciting down the stretch. I'm looking forward to it.
I do want to say one thing, because I know the CBC side you don't have, but they're going to be interviewing Nazem Kadri after hours. So if he says anything in particular, I'll let you know about it.
Yeah, give me the heads up, and of course I'm misery loves company, so I'm going to have some company tonight on Twitter and some of the Flames accounts that I follow. I'm sure there will be lots of spicy takes out there for me to take in. But either way. Always a joy. The outcome of the game, notwithstanding, really love covering the games with you, my friend, and I'm looking forward to getting back to it when you're back in the swing of things. And keep me posted. Also for the listeners too, if you're covering any semi-pro stuff, please let me know first. I'll be watching.
Sounds good. Hopefully you can avoid the snow, because I think it's supposed to get 8 inches on the weekend side when I'm supposed to cover it. So hoping not.
Okay, well let's be realistic. Let's cut that 8 down to 2.
Yes,
that's workable. We can get you out there in 2 inches.
We'll figure it out, and I'll talk to you soon. It's always a pleasure, man.
All right, likewise. Thanks, John.
See you. Yep, Joe, you were correct. If you were still on here, my friend, it said Wild was the long shot. I don't even understand how that would be the case. Obviously, Vegas didn't watch whatever it was tonight, because the Wild have been playing games like this. You figure they get an extra goal, it'd be a death sentence. And for Calgary to get shut out tonight, I think that that's a realistic possibility. It ended up being 3-0. So for the next game for Minnesota, they get to play Calgary again. They might get to pick an easy up 4 points as far as they're concerned, as they'll be at Xcel Energy Center on Tuesday. It's going to be a back-to-back for the Dallas Stars and the Calgary Flames. That will be Monday and Tuesday, as Scott Oak and Ryan Reeves are having some fun on the CBC side. So I'm going to watch the after-hour stuff as I get this story typed up. I'm not going to be streaming next week as far as everything else is concerned because I got a couple semi-pro assignments, hopefully Saturday and Sunday. The rest of the week I'll be completely busy. So it'll be maybe about 9 days, and then I'll be back with you. So I was trying to get as many assignments as I can get in. Maybe tomorrow I'll finish it out and go 7 for 7 with the Seattle Kraken and the Colorado Avalanche. But tomorrow will absolutely be my last day here for about 9 days or so. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace. Hope you enjoyed the stream.